This is 365 Sports.
Keeps it. Scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Gets to the corner. Touchdown. Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson, some time. There's the tie in again. Rumbling towards the end zone. And the touchdown for NCAA.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. Wherever you might be, we appreciate you, Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. We're in studio today taking you up through the next 2.5, 3 hours. We appreciate your time. And we'll have a note in a little bit, but Veterans Day, we remember all of those of you who are a part of the chat room. Many of you have told stories when you served our great country, and we do honor you, and we appreciate you for your service to our country. So there we are with that, and it is Veterans Day. A note from one of our listener viewers on a grandfather and a father that we'll tell you about here in just a second. Good afternoon. College football rankings, week number 2 out a little bit later on today, and we'll get to a lot of that, including our buddy Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, who will join us tomorrow on a couple of nuggets that he has. This story here, like, okay, what do we start with today? There's the LSU cat fight that continues with Brian Kelly, etc. But this one here, a Texas man indicted and accused of threatening Louisville head coach Jeff Brom, his family, offensive coordinator Brian Brom, and quarterback Miller Moss. Crimes that happened on November 8th and 9th after Louisville lost to Cal in overtime.
Yeah, these are sad stories to hear about psycho fans, or I don't know what Brian Mandel's deal is. Maybe it's gambling or whatever. I mean, it's an extortion attempt over 10th. I don't even know what that all is about, really. But yeah, it's really sad that these things have to happen, and glad that the Louisville University Police got this in the, taken care of as fast as they did.
Well, hopefully this is the next to last time we talk about this guy as far as saying his name. The next time is when he's getting sentenced for a long time. He's a total loser, and nobody needs to know who this guy is if you go that far because of whatever motivated you. I'd say reevaluate your life, but I think you're too far gone to probably understand how far gone you already are if you're doing things like this. So, total loser. Go spend some time in jail and just weird behavior. And would it be gambling involved? I would hope so, because at least you could see where the reaction would come from, because we've seen extortion and death threats and things like that involved with gambling. And so you go, why would somebody do that? Well, gambling. They lost the house on the Texas game or the TCU game, or in this case, the Louisville game, I suppose. But that's the risk you take. So maybe it was that. At least you could kind of understand the anger, I suppose. But even then, it's just stupidity is all it is. So, yeah, total loser. Throw him into the clink, and let's never talk about this idiot again.
All right, so he won't. So there's that story, but it is, you're right, stunning at times. And then again, nothing surprises me anymore.
Well, this is not going to
Athletic
be.
Director Josh Hurd released a statement about it himself, and again, they're all over this story.
I mean, this is not going to be the last time we probably hear about something like this. I mean, Major League Baseball has not had this level, but I have to wonder if we're not going to hear about Emmanuel Clase and them being threatened to throw pitches because it's the only thing that explains their stupidity, why they're trying to make thousands of dollars at a time when they make millions already. So maybe that's something that comes out in that story. But my point is, with gambling being so deeply seated now, this is not surprising at all. I'm surprised we haven't actually had more stories like this. So that's the bed that sports has made for itself, and they're going to count their dollars, and they're going to love every second of it. And every once in a while, there's going to be these crazy people that are also involved because of the gambling side of things. And even if this is unrelated to that, which it may very well be, I still maintain exactly what I said, that with gambling as heavily involved as it is now, we're going to hear a lot more about crimes in that universe of threats and extortion and people being pissed enough at athletes to maybe take some action because they are low IQ and whatnot. But, really bizarre, and what a moron.
Yeah,
what a complete moron.
Out of Corpus Christi, but I saw somebody in the chat. I'm not sure exactly where he's from originally. Doesn't matter. He is headed to prison. Now, Brian Kelly, Garrett Ross, you of LSU fame, this story just won't end. I get where his side is. LSU thought they had an agreement. Dan Wetzel, who we had on yesterday, his attorney, stating that LSU is saying it never formally terminated Kelly and now seeking to fire him for cause, which could impact his nearly $54 million buyout. Of course, Kelly seeking a declaratory judgment that LSU, in fact, did fire him and entitled to full liquidated damages. I think he's entitled to every damn penny. You can say he was whatever. This is the deal. They fired him, and he should get every penny.
If he was fired for cause, then wouldn't we know what that cause is right now? Because that would have gotten this taken care of. Now, I understand how much of things are a mess in Baton Rouge right now when it comes to the entire Brian Kelly situation. But if I'm his attorney, he's going to be like, the GD governor was on television a couple days ago firing everybody he could. So if I'm Brian Kelly, I feel like I'm pretty fired when the highest ranking official in the state is on television talking about it. So maybe Jeff Landry was misinformed, except for the fact that he held this meeting at his house to make sure they could fire Brian Kelly. And at no point in anyone's statements about anything did we hear the words fired for cause. Now, for cause is not being unlikable. There's no way, hey, 78% of the athletic department has to think you're a swell guy or we fire you for cause. He's there to coach football. If they don't like him because his personality and that didn't work out, then guess what? That's why you fire him, not fire him for cause. That's ridiculous legal mumbo jumbo on their part.
Yeah, I was up pretty late last night, and this story dropped by Dan Wetzel, who, I don't know if he had just finished it when he talked to us yesterday or, was getting it put out there or whatnot, but saw this drop, and Immediately was super interested just because thank you, LSU, for the fodder. This is a story that last week we were talking about, and Paul, with the influence of the governor, was of the opinion that this would affect candidacies for the LSU job, and I totally disagreed, and I still disagree with that. I don't think any governor just being a loudmouth and being your kind of typical Louisiana politician and just riffing about how they're going to eliminate buyouts in the future and things like that, I really don't think that prevents John Sumrall from going to be the LSU head coach, or Lane Kiffin for that matter. It doesn't really affect them, although you could say, well, it affected Brian Kelly. But, yeah, eventually after he lost a bunch and they got fed up with him. But as far as, like, actually doing his job, I don't think it had any interference whatsoever. So let the politician talk and do what he needs to do for his constituents, and you keep going on about your business, and you'll be fine. This last night is different. This would affect me taking this LSU job. Yeah. This would absolutely 100% make me change my mind if I'm John Sumrall or Lane Kiffin or others who have another option that is very similar, if not better, depending on what you look for in the Florida job. Because now you're basically telling anybody that when we feel like it, no matter what your contract says, we can fire you and then not pay you your money and try to say that it was somehow for cause. And now clearly what they're doing is trying to find the cause, because they didn't think that out to begin with, because they thought that they would just fire him for losing, which they made very clear, and then negotiate down his buyout, which they tried to do on at least 2 occasions, according to reports, and he said no, because why would you take less money if you're entitled to $54 million? So they tried to pay him in the 40s or the 30s or whatever those 2 offers were, and he said
25
no.
and 30.
Yeah, so he said no, like a smart person would do, because that's his money. That's what he signed up for. And now you're trying to say that that's not what he signed up for, even though that's the contract you presented to him and the agreement you agreed to and the offer you made. And now because you don't want to pay all that money, you're trying to get out of the deal you negotiated. So, yeah, if I'm an agent or I'm a coach, I'm saying F that mess, because no matter what I sign, I can't trust that you'll pay it at the end of it. Because at the first sign of difficulty or stretch of losing, I can tell you're going to try to crawfish your way out of my contract and fire me and try to dig up dirt on me so you don't have to pay all that money. So I don't think the governor affects anything. I think this absolutely would affect a potential candidate for LSU.
Well, the governor said this right now. This was last week. This is what he said, or whenever it was. We've got a $53 million liability. He admitted it.
Yeah.
He said it.
We're
not
that they
doing
lost
that
too
again.
much. Like, he made it very clear that the losing was going too much.
Now, look, the governor, I think, to clarify my position maybe a little bit more, I don't think the governor keeps out John Sumrall, because his job, like, the LSU job's still better than the Tulane job. I think it eliminates potentially guys like Lane Kiffin who could go to a place where they don't have to deal with that. And I do think the governor's mitts are all over this mess, because he was the one who was making these decisions last week or 2 weeks ago when all this went down. So I think his mitts are all over it. So again, and if I have other options, I'm going to make sure LSU, for damn sure. And here's the other thing that's ridiculous on LSU's part. If you were out there, first the governor and then everybody else saying that, like, we're going to have a contract that's better than this and better than that. Well, not if you keep doing this stuff. Yeah. There's no way that Trace Armstrong or Jimmy Sexton, or hell, if I was a coach's agent, that I would give them a better deal than the one they just did, because now they've incentivized me to make sure that they're on the hook no matter what.
I had a coach that used to, not Phil Bennett, because I had somebody tell me that they do think that Brian Kelly will go into retirement and stay there.
Well, he's
not coming back. That's what, again, he could take a job he could go to USF if Golis leaves. I don't know. But they said he's not coming. He's done.
Well, I mean, he's up there in age. Yep. He's been at multiple big programs. He knows what it's like now, and he's due $54 million. So I wouldn't blame him at all if he decided to go in retirement, and I could definitely see him as a guy in the media, talking on one of the pregame or postgame shows or something along those lines. I could definitely see that in his future somewhere, maybe not nationally or something like that, but maybe so. I think
he would have to lighten up a little bit. Yeah.
I think he would have to lighten up a little bit, but I don't think that that's out of the equation, or a podcast or something. Like, there's multiple things you can do now as a coach, post-football coaching, actually on the field now, and still be involved. So maybe he's an unofficial analyst somewhere, unofficial GM at a program. kind of a thing.
Whatever network was, if he got into television, they would know how to soften him up.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely have options related to college football after this if he decides not to coach, and he doesn't need to work. And I do think, there are detractors, but dude, LSU, you've managed to make Brian Kelly the good guy in this situation. And I know you have the most rabid of fan bases, so I'm not knocking the people of Louisiana or LSU fans, but if you don't see how this looks on your program and you're actually sitting there trying to defend this like Brian Kelly's the bad guy, you've totally lost the plot, or you never had it to begin with, because this is BS behavior from LSU. And I can't wait to see what their for cause is. I saw all sorts of fans trying to drum up, well, there was this or that, and it was like all these very minor things that I don't even know if they were even all associated with him, but people were scratching their heads trying to figure out what could they possibly say for cause a week after you basically said it was for not winning enough.
And he was 34-14.
And he was still, I mean, which by LSU standards isn't good enough, obviously, but this is, I've seen the term clown show thrown around and other phrases like that. It's totally a clown show. It's embarrassing, and LSU is better than this, in my opinion, as a program. They should be better than this, but the people right now that are in charge are making them look like a moronic institution and athletic department with how they're handling
completely
this.
just like who is running the asylum. But meanwhile, the LSU coaching search, go ahead.
Oh, but I hope that this drags on, because now you got me invested. Like I said this earlier, but I'm not a messy bee. I don't get involved in like the reality show messiness of life and all that. It doesn't really attract me. I'm all in on this now. Like now that Louisiana, or now that the LSU side has pulled this and the Louisiana governor is so involved, like now you got me hooked, and now you got me like basically rooting for Brian Kelly here, because now I want to see what LSU's wallet looks like, because if they're worried about paying $54 million, well, then you're going to have to go pay another coach as well. So if they're on the hook, then you're still paying that. And do you not have enough money? Is that the problem?
Justin Super Chat. LSU should pay BK his buyout, but pay it like the Mets pay Bobby Bonilla. Every
BK
year
Day.
For 20 years, BK Day could be on 9-6.
30 years, Justin. It's been 30 years
Great
on
idea.
Bobby Bonilla and the Mets.
Here's what's interesting. Paul, you set this out. All the odds on Auburn and Florida, that the LSU's next full-time head coach, according to betonline.ag, is Nick Saban at 2-1, and then Lane Kiffin
It was
underneath that.
75-1, and it's now moved to 2-1, which indicates one of two things. Either Jimmy Sexton slipped out, that Nick Saban's negotiating out there in the ether, or people are betting so much that it's going to be Nick Saban that the odds have moved, which I believe it's the latter and not the former.
Well, shout out to Justin with the great idea there. Go Bulls. I believe I saw a USF logo there, so go Bulls. Great year so far, and we do appreciate the $5. And I don't know what to make of this right here with the Nick Saban thing, other than what you theorized there, Paul, about just money's headed that way. I see no indication from Nick Saban that he wants to walk into the LSU job.
I don't think he wants to walk into college football NIL world.
I was going to say, I don't think he wants to walk back into a college football head coaching role, much less one where, are you going to pay me my money when I leave? Because that's basically the line they've drawn in the sand now with Brian Kelly was, we'll fire you for losing too much. And the moment we realize, oh, crap, we didn't look at the bank vault first, we don't have the money, or it's going to be hard to come by, now we're going to change our tune and say, oh, well, you did something bad and you're the bad guy, which is total BS. So just clown show. That is the perfect term for what's going on right now with LSU leadership. And there will still be guys that want that job. I don't think it'll be Nick Saban. I would wonder now about Lane Kiffin if the Florida job doesn't look a lot better, or Ole Miss and just staying put where you are looks even better. And Joe Brady's not exactly a hot name right now. Is he not leading the Bills to
a loss to the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, very tumultuous kind of season.
It was raining, guys.
Oh, yeah, it was raining.
Raining turnovers.
I'm just saying he's not the hottest name right now.
The only one out of there that would calm things down would probably be Kiffin. Saban off the table, obviously, if that one. And then maybe Lanning, although I like Lee, and obviously, but yeah, or Sumrall, kind of more key. All those guys to me are about the same. But there's the odds. It'll change, but Paul saw that, sent it to us,
Yeah.
and we put it up.
I thought it was wild that he went from 75-1 to
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah.
And
I would actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And that's just, I don't know what that indicates. There's a couple things that
somebody got inside information, they think, and they put about $500,000 down on Nick Saban.
Well, I would like to know Nick Saban's opinion on this buyout mess. I would like to know. Hopefully, he talks about it on game day
I bet he
or
does.
somewhere else.
I bet he does.
Because that's the guy who knows as many coaches as anybody, knows as many agents as anybody, and has been involved in big, high-profile contract negotiations, and is a guy who's kind of a voice of the coaches in so many ways now. So to see a school, not for the first time, but to see a school try to, get out of this buyout that they made very clear what their reasoning was a week ago, I'm sure they're going to say, well, we didn't actually – they're going to do the politician thing because politicians are involved. Well, we didn't actually say that's why. It's like, but, dude, you indicated it in every single way imaginable. Everybody knew why you fired him. Now you must just be short on the money.
Yeah, somebody sent out an email that said, no, what have we been quoted as saying?
Or they called up an alum and said, hey, you're going to pay this buyout, right? And he said, no, I'm not. And they said,
I'll give you $10 million. Go call 5 other guys.
Right.
So tonight's week number 2 of the college football playoff rankings, right? There'll be a little bit of movement, probably not too much. You wonder where BYU goes to, and does that knock somebody in the top 10 or 12 down a notch? We'll see. Dave Bartu, who's going to join us on Wednesdays for the rest of the rankings releases at College Football Matrix. You should be able to see this. I know it's kind of, no, full screen, Brandon. Full screen, thank you. This is Dave Bartu's prediction, and I don't know, he hasn't been wrong if he is very often, but this is just a prediction based on all the things that go into play. He has Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tech 8. Then you have Notre Dame at 9. BYU he has dropping to 10, but not out of the top 10. And then Texas and Oklahoma, which have been hovering right there, would be at 11. And then number 12 in Utah, not far back, at 13. That's how his college football matrix, jumbling all that together, he was absolutely 100% spot on last week.
Well, if you like Dave Bartu, you're welcome. That he's not going to be a weekly part of the show, and I think that's a great thing moving forward, and hopefully people are excited about having him on now through the stretch run, because I do think he talks about the playoffs in a more realistic and grounded way than a lot of people who riff on, well, head-to-head said that, and he's more into like, yeah, there was that, but there was also this, that, and the other, and he's also somebody who knows how the committee operates, and he's not going off of what Justin would do or what Craig would do. He's going off what the committee would do, and there is going to be movement. You said there might be a little bit. You look at the rankings last week, BYU lost. They were number 7. Virginia lost. They were there at the number 14, so they were outside looking in. Louisville was outside looking in at 15. Vanderbilt outside looking in at 16. So the back, the back grouping of those waiting to be let in that are right at the front door, that's going to have to shuffle outside of Utah, because those 3 teams lost that were at 14, 15, and 16. But, yeah, inside the 12, a very notable jump for and obviously BYU lost. Did I mention that? But, BYU lost as far as inside the 12. But that's a big jump for Oregon, going from 9 to, what does that say, 6 or 5 there, 9 to 5. So, looking forward to hearing him.
Think about that, 9 to 5. They win a game on the road by a field goal in the last second, and they might jump as many as 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah. So I'm curious about where he's coming from with that and the reasoning behind it, but also with BYU staying in the top 12, I think they should. I think if they played in a different league, one of 2, they would stay in the top 12. I think the only reason we think they're going to drop out is because they don't play in one of those 2 leagues. Now, I also am understanding that they got beat up and blown out. I mean, it wasn't 45-7, but it was not a one-score game, and it wasn't a game they were ever really in control in or looking like they were going to win. So from that standpoint, I can see where it's a bit of a larger ding on them than just a close loss would have been. But I still think if you were 8-0 and that's your first loss, do you deserve to tumble like 7 spots or something? No, I don't think so.
Not when you lose to another team in the top 10.
To the team that's going to be borderline top 5. Yeah. So that's who you lost to at their place. And for that reason, I think BYU should be inside the 12. Now, they should be on the verge of it and having to hang on for dear life, but I don't think they should tumble 5 spots or more out of the rankings, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's what happens tonight because of where they play and who they play.
Yeah, their loss to Texas Tech, with all due respect to others right behind them, is a hell of a lot better, even though Texas is starting to crank it up, than losing to Florida. But Texas has those top 10 wins. And then the loss Oklahoma has, they lost to Texas and then Ole Miss. So their losses aren't bad either. But again, win games, it all take care of itself, but they have 2.
But the best thing that can happen, one of the best things that can happen, it's out of BYU's control, is for Texas and Oklahoma both to lose this weekend.
Yes.
If that happens, then that puts them in the now the category of the Sankey lobbying 3-loss or potentially 4-loss teams. Like that's where that'll put them, and not in the if everything goes well,
The only way a 4-loss team gets in the playoff is if somehow they get into a conference championship.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like,
I don't care. Yeah, I know. I know.
But yeah, that Sankey lobbying category is where a 3-loss SEC team is going to live.
So did y'all see John Wilner's tweet last night in regards to Greg Sankey? So he was quote tweeting somebody. There's some dude, Scoot Barley, which I think is like
that's a parody.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So some parody account posted a picture of Greg Sankey at the podium, and he said, Greg Sankey on the CFB playoff selection. Quote, I think there is a real scenario where the SEC is an 8-bid conference. I've had many conversations with individual selection committee members, and we have discussed how Mizzou, Vanderbilt, and even Tennessee simply deserve to be in the playoffs. It's a no-brainer that the SEC has carved out at least 6 to 8 spots in the playoffs. Now, that is a parody presented as a real quote, and John Wilner quote tweeted that and said, let's see here. He said, anyone who thinks Sankey would actually say this deserves to get pranked. From the looks of it, it's a lot of people. I totally believe he would say that, John.
Yeah.
I totally believe he would say that.
Yeah,
I totally believe that he believes that.
I had to kind of fight through. I was like, this is not true. And then I started fighting myself. No, it could be. Where did he say this? And then realized it.
And you know what? I totally believe he would say something like that. I don't think it's far off base at all. I'm surprised that you think that people wouldn't believe that because it sounds exactly like something that he would say. And based on some replies, there are plenty of people that thought he did say that and agree with him that are SEC fans.
Yeah.
So the point being that was just a funny thing I saw. But also, there is going to be that type of lobbying. That, yes, like a 2-loss Texas or Oklahoma deserved to be in over a 1-loss BYU or things like that. Like that jockeying.
If those 2 remain with 2 losses, yeah.
Right. I mean, well, obviously, if they lose this weekend, they don't have a leg to stand on. But right now they do as far as the rankings tonight go. So where are they compared to BYU? Where are they compared to others? That's primarily what I'm looking at tonight. And Dave will be able to illuminate a lot of that for us.
We will have Dave tomorrow. He'll join us at 4 on Wednesdays every week. After the day after the release of the rankings, which is again later on tonight. Meanwhile, Brett McMurphy with this one. This is not tonight. His is what he thinks it will be at the end of all of it, because then you see USF and Georgia Tech, etc. He has the 4 top, which won't change, appears to me from what Brett McMurphy's saying. But look at the other ones. You have Oregon. They've been in. Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tech. And then also Utah, Georgia Tech, and USF, because you're ACC champion. If that's who it is, then USF is the best. If that's who it is best group of 5.
Well, there's at least one notable difference that A&M wasn't number 2 last week. They were
they were number 3. Yeah, so they're gonna. That means that they're not. Don't maybe that means they beat Alabama. What it would be, they beat Alabama in the SEC championship game.
So A&M in his is bumping up a spot and jumping over Indiana. And
Big 12 with 2.
I was going to say, I don't see BYU, but I see Utah. So I like that he's given some respect. And Brett is an Oklahoma State guy. So he's not your typical living, born, and grown and raised in Nashville or the Southeast and of a particular opinion all the time. He's a little bit more broad. And so I think that his is more likely to be a little bit more open-minded. And I hope the committee thinks the same way, because I do think right now, as of this week, that a BYU or a Utah has a place in this thing, but it's also going to be interesting to see how the ACC maneuvers through these last few weeks with the hits they took last week with the Louisvilles, the Virginias getting beat, and kind of how that whole race is shaping up. So, USF would be your designated number 12 G6 spot. What else stands out about this? I don't really have my notes in front of me.
The ACC champion.
I hate that Georgia and Georgia Tech would
play in the
have
first
to play
round
again 2 weeks later.
Well,
but,
then that's the
So
risk
ACC
that you take.
champion at number 11. Okay,
Yeah. So there's what again. That's not this week. That's not tonight. That's not in 3 hours. That is at the end of it all, December 7th when it's released. So that's his prediction.
Okay, yeah. So that's definitely good information to know. So yeah, he'd have A&M winning out basically, and winning the whole damn
And then
thing.
beating Alabama in the SEC.
Okay, now that I view it that way, and then Utah basically winning out, and I guess beating Tech in the Big 12 title game would be their route.
Yep.
or win out.
No.
They already got 2 losses.
Yeah, but if they win out and BYU loses, then maybe they would jump BYU
Well,
in his estimation.
yeah, there's
but I
a lot-
think that would make
They've
I'll
got
get
2
him on.
losses. They would have to win out and win the Big 12 to be in this thing.
If they're at 10 and they would still be behind Tech, that would be 2 losses for Tech if they didn't win the Big 12, because that means that they lost. Well, that means they split with Utah. A lot of Storm. That's kind of just his thoughts about. And it was interesting. I wanted to put that up today.
I mean, I appreciate him throwing his opinion out there and taking the arrows and everything else that comes with that. But I think Tech hosting South Florida would be rocking. Oregon and Notre Dame and Austin would be amazing. Utah going down to Ole Miss would be a lot of fun. And then, Georgia Tech, I wonder if they would try to avoid a rematch that quickly. But that would have a lot of venom attached to it as well. And the top 4, I think, are at this stage pretty self-explanatory. You can twist Indiana or A&M or even put one of those at number 1 if you so choose. I think there's an argument there as well. But, I think that would be a lot of fun.
2 Big Ten and 2 SEC in the top 4. That's pretty impressive. Okay, here we go with this story. I don't know if you saw the video. Initially, a lot of people were reacting to this as if Texas State was the culprit. With the University of Louisiana, they had a brawl after the game. I saw a brawl between 2 teams. Like, I don't know. I know Grambling might have been one, and somebody else
was involved in something.
Yeah, and it was awful. And you always have the idiots that take off their helmet when everybody else has one on. But this is from Chris Vanini, and this is from the Sun Belt Conference. They have announced suspensions resulting from a post-game brawl. If you want to Google it, you can. Google it, as Signetti would say. And 13 players suspended. Now, I did see the note when Texas State initially was blamed. They got beat badly. That somebody was trying to say Texas State, bad losers. Then someone did bring in the name, not the name, but a position, a safety from the University of Louisiana. Tyree Skipper has been suspended for the rest of the year. But those are the names, and that's the suspension. And that's the only way you're going to end these things if you get harsh, if this is harsh enough.
Well, I'll tell you, is it harsh enough that his career's over? Because he's a super senior who has no eligibility left. So he's a pretty good player, like an all-conference type of a guy, but he's also in his 6th year. So Tyree Skipper just ended his college football career with a brawl in week 10.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good for
emotions
you, man.
run high, I get it, but you should be old and wise enough at that point, 5-6 years into your college career, to know better. And clearly he wasn't thinking straight. Nor were a lot of people. But, yeah, you had Grambling, Bethune-Cookman had a brawl, and then you had this here between Louisiana and Texas State. So I was looking up the players' names because I was like, damn, I wonder if the one guy who gets suspended the whole time, like, what grade's he in? And it was like 5th or 6th year senior. I was like, he just ended his career over this stupid brawl. And I don't know what his NFL prospects are, but it's not like he was going to leave early, right? He's been there for 5-6 years. Let me double check on how redshirt senior, so 5 years. So he's now out of college football because of the brawl on Saturday, and that's the thing I take away. Outside of it just being a big mess in both instances, I don't know what caused it. I don't care who caused it. I don't know who to blame. I don't care who to blame. It was a bad look in both instances, and just like really low-level minor league feeling stuff.
All-conference player last year, 2nd team, and preseason all-conference player. And
so
I don't know.
He would probably get an opportunity at least
free agent deal or something.
UDFA, an undrafted free agent. The other thing I find, and this is just an observation on football brawls in general, like I get in hockey, like when they drop the gloves, but they take the gloves off and they're like, there's not face masks and stuff. So like you can do it. But like a football fight, when everybody's wearing shoulder pads and everything else, is way more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
Like it's way more trouble than it's worth. And just having that in your head when you are playing would maybe be a thing that a lot of coaches should go over. Like, guys, like, we're not going to take the time to take all our pads off and make this worthwhile fighting. Like, just, calm down, hit them on the next play and do it. That's the other thing about it. Of all the sports you can play, like if you get chief shotted or whatever, guess what you can do? Go back, block that guy, hit that guy hard every single time legally, and guess what? You're protected by the rules.
There was a mass amount of players. I'm surprised they were able to just pick out 13 and not 25 because it was bad. It was like a scrum, like fire ants on top of an apple that had dropped to the tree.
And maybe he's a great guy, so I'm not going to continue to poo-poo on him, but I just think that's got to be an awful feeling to hear that news and you realize, oh crap, I just ended my college career with a suspension. It's got to be a pit in the stomach type of feeling, and we'll see if it ends his football career. But yeah, they had to do something, and suspensions were warranted in this case. And I didn't watch all the video that they watched, but it was unfortunate, and I'm glad that nobody apparently got severely hurt in either one of those cases, best I could tell.
All right, one other note, and there's a couple of other stories we'll have later on. We have Ari Temkin around the corner. Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose Award goes to Texas Tech running back. Yep, Cameron Dickey. Yeah, he had no one really this week with all the nominations. Craig's the one that puts all that together, had just a massive game. Cameron Dickey had a big game against a hell of an opponent in the nationally televised game day and much more. He was named the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner for the win against BYU.
Yeah, there wasn't just a clear-cut guy to vote for this week, but over 120 yards and a touchdown in a big matchup like that. And obviously he was able to cut up that BYU defense pretty good, which not a lot of people have been able to do. I would say while there wasn't a lot of other great candidates, I mean, there were performances like Kwan Lacey had like 3 touchdowns, but it was against the Citadel or something along those lines. Guys had some nice games. I do, though, want to shout out one guy. That's Samari Collier, quarterback at Coastal Carolina. I'm not so sure he wouldn't have gotten my vote. He's a redshirt senior, 3 touchdowns through the air, touchdown and 100-plus yards on the ground in a win over Georgia State. Now, Georgia State is not playing BYU, so that's, I think, where the separator is for Cameron Dickey this week. But just want to also shout out, Dickey's deserving, but also shout out Samari Collier, not for this game in particular, but he's been putting up big performances out at Coastal. A young man from DeSoto who's in his final year of college football. So shout out to him. I'm paying attention.
I did vote for him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. I said, because didn't Dickey win like 3 weeks ago?
Probably, yeah.
And if you're a repeat winner, you earn it, right? But right. I said I'll vote for Collier. I think Dickey's won it recently, but obviously not take it away from his performance against BYU. Now, Veterans Day. I got this note from our friend, retired stockbroker, right before the show began. Let me find the picture. There it is, Brandon. That is from retired stockbroker from his house. Beautiful. Look at all that beautiful country. His wife, Leslie's father, landed on Normandy, and his grandfather fought in Midway and was born on 11/11. Thanks for all the veterans have done for our freedom. And by the way, retired stockbroker said, I tipped 11/11 for a reason yesterday. Hats off to all of the veterans.
That is one heck of an intersection of historical battle, storming the beach at Normandy and then fighting at Midway. I feel like a lot of people know, because of Saving Private Ryan, know a lot more about Normandy than they do about Midway. But both of them epic, important historical events that everybody should know about backwards and forwards and what the sacrifices were made. That is one heck of an intersection, though, of the European theater and the Pacific theater in one family. I'll tell you that.
I wonder how many moccasins have entered his backyard or porch on occasion. Just
from there?
First thing I think about. Sure. What a beautiful place. My God, there's snakes.
Well, if you're fighting the Nazis, I don't think you're too scared of any water moccasins, maybe. But
that's down in, is it Montgomery? Where he lives, where retired stockbroker and Leslie live. But remember, they had the bad flood a couple of years ago, and they kind of had to get out from underneath that. But that is beautiful country.
Yeah, and I just say that because I wanted to sound like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Basterds for a second. But I mean, just salute to everybody who has served. But you bring up the World War II and the Pacific and European theaters, and yeah, I mean that's still obviously something that it's like a hobby for people to follow still. We're all still just so fascinated by it all these decades later and the sacrifices that were made. And I still think we probably feel like that was America at its best and really its best and most patriotic for good reason. And I take my hats off and salute all those who served and those who fell serving. And shout out to you.
And one more super chat from S. Michael DeHart, because a lot of you, including S. Michael DeHart, served our country. In honor of Staff Sergeant Robert E. DeHart, U.S. Air Force 20th, USAAF 20th Army Air Corps, 414th Fighter Group, 413th Fighter Squadron, flight line mechanic on a P-47 Thunderbolt in the Asiatic Pacific campaign.
Oh, a P-40. Those things.
Unbelievable.
Man, my grandfather was in the Air Force, and he worked on the P-47s a little bit too, and then eventually on the B-52 bombers and all that. He was a chief warrant officer. So I've heard many tales of the P-47s. Those were awesome airplanes.
And I don't think Michael, he served too. And that's Michael DeHart. And so many of you have told stories in the chat room. And please share one with us if you haven't back in the last 5 years. But we'd love to get them real quick.
We also got this picture of Andrew's grandpa.
Andrew's grandpa.
Vietnam.
There he is. Vietnam veteran. Is that right?
Yep. John Valade Sr.
John Valade.
18th Engineer Brigade.
That's awesome, Andrew. Thanks for sharing that, too. So Veterans Day, we remember everybody that has served our great country. All right, you were going to add real.
I was just this John Valade Sr. and John Valade Jr., it almost looks like he just made another one of him.
Yeah, that's like
he looks so
cloned.
much alike.
He was
He
cloned.
did, Paul.
I know, but I think he just instead of like going through the process of his mother's DNA, he just like
photocopied.
Exactly.
I think John Jr.'s forearms are bigger, right? just slightly. All right, when we come back, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Shahan Jararaja, he was in Lubbock over the weekend. His story and also more at 4 o'clock. And then John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist today at 5. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Alumni Group, they've got a game coming up. And so they have the events coming up before the Utah game on Saturday evening at McClain Stadium, including, let me see what they have here. Yes, Lunch with a Legend, by the way, is tomorrow, Thursday of this week with Jim Turner, former basketball star. That'll be at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. So that's something that they have coming up this week. And then the game with Utah. And they'll have their tailgating. They'll be over across the pedestrian bridge, which is between McClain Stadium and the Brazos River. They'll have food and fun and much more. Broadcasting going on there. The pregame for Baylor. All of it there. And Doug Furch and also Paul Thorpe always help you get your word out if you're having a watch party somewhere outside of Waco and you need help getting the word out. No matter what state you're in, they'll do it for you at the Baylor Club.
KWTX invites you to watch the Waco Veterans Day Parade, Tuesday, November 11th, hosted by McLennan County Veterans Association and the Stan C. Parker Foundation. Brought to you commercial-free by Alan Samuels Dodge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at, or if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Cowboys is the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Ari Temkin and James Westling. And Ari joins us on most every Tuesday, and he joins us today. And my goodness, was there ever a more emphatic statement than Tech gave everybody on Saturday? They have work to do, but that was impressive all the way around throughout the week too.
Yeah, I mean, look, Smokey, you and I have seen this conference have some dominant teams, and we talked a ton about the opportunity for the Big 12 to still maintain some of those teams, because at this, up until this point, we didn't really know that there was, a true measuring stick for the rest of the conference like this conference is used to having. And so, yeah, I mean, Tech is that. They are very much in line talent-wise up front with some of the big, SEC Big Ten teams. So I guess that's what we were looking for. And yeah, I mean, they're just absolutely dominating. I will say, though, there's a flaw within them. I think, defensively, they're as dominant as anybody, and that will keep them in games and will have them go far potentially in a playoff situation. But they need to finish drives with touchdowns. Their offense isn't good enough. And ultimately, I think that's where they need to have the biggest step forward. But it's hard to poo-poo much with Tech right now because, yeah, I mean, they're just absolutely destroying teams. And, I mean, the 2 top teams in the Big 12, we'll see after tonight where the college football playoff thinks BYU and Utah are, but I'm assuming both will still be in the top 15. So to do what Texas Tech has done to both Utah and BYU this year, considering what the playoff thinks they are and what they've done to the rest of the conference, is incredible.
Ari, how nebulous is these next, or dangerous the next couple of weeks for the Big 12 and the getting 2 teams in the playoff? I think the ACC did them a big favor this last week by kind of clearing off some of the, well, what if this happens teams from that list. But even still, the deck is stacked against them when it comes to the public perception. And another BYU loss before the championship game, another Utah loss before the championship game probably means it's just the champion.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think nebulous is the right word, Paul. I mean, this is the time of year where you have slip ups. This is the time of year where you look at the schedule and you see wins, and then they play these games and crazy things happen. And so, yeah, I mean, this weekend in particular is one of those. Now, granted, the two slip up spots potentially are home games where BYU hosts TCU, but we'll see what kind of TCU team we get. And then, Texas Tech is hosting UCF. But I think when you look at sort of that second or third tier of the Big 12, Arizona visiting Cincinnati, it's another game that could help to, lift the profile of the Big 12. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. Like, this is in Utah, Baylor too. I mean, in Baylor, obviously if Baylor is able to duplicate what they did against UCF defensively, then they're going to give Utah all kinds of fits. That might be the most glaring one. But again, we've seen a much larger sample that suggests Baylor's defense is probably not very good. Although we'll see if this is a recent trend with the 3 points they held UCF to a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, look, the calendar turns to November. Crazy things happen. I think it's partly because, you're holding on for dear life. And that's the reason these things are marathons. You're trying to get as healthy as you possibly can, but nobody's healthy. Everybody's just trying to be as healthy as they possibly can to be able to play. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you still have 18, 19, 20-year-olds that, things happen over the course of the week that could dictate the outcomes of these games, which is why we have crazy upsets this time of year across the board. So I think nebulous is the perfect word, Paul.
So from a BYU perspective, I thought Kalani Sitake said all the right things in the postgame, handled the loss really well. Just go back to the drawing board, give respect to Texas Tech. And they were in a hornet's nest, to be sure, but didn't score. I mean, we're almost shut out. Didn't score until the fourth quarter. Bear Bachmeier wasn't able to break off the big plays like he had been kind of accustomed to. And then defensively, they played a much more explosive set of offensive weapons than they had played. How do you look at BYU? I mean, are they still, in your opinion, one of the best teams in the country? You mentioned with Texas Tech, you don't have full faith in that offense right now. How would you, I guess, look at BYU under the same microscope?
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think I'm projecting Tech out in terms of like the Ohio States, Indiana's,
sure,
Notre Dame's of the world, more so than this conference, which I think at this point they've proven, to be pretty dominant. Their one loss, obviously to an Arizona State team that had both Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson healthy, which has been like a solar eclipse this year to get both of those guys healthy at the same time. It's been, very difficult. And then, Will Hammond was at quarterback and not Baron Morton. So, yeah, look, I mean, it's so interesting because at the end of the day, BYU finally looked like they had a true freshman quarterback. It was the first time all year. And I mean, Sheil Wood and Texas Tech defensively just had the right game plan, which is choke out the run. Now, much easier said than done because most teams have known that that's what BYU wants to do and haven't been able to stop it. It's just that Texas Tech is that good up front on defense. And then they've got the linebackers and Jacob Rodriguez, to be able to clean that up. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, there's such a weird standard right now for BYU to where like, we're not really allowing for a freshman quarterback to be a freshman quarterback. And that's his own doing because he's played so well. But, the expectations have gone so skewed for BYU, considering, again, he is literally a true freshman quarterback, but 67 yards rushing, in the game, Cameron Dickey became the leading rusher in the Big 12, which says a lot because, both Williams and Dickey have been so effective this year. So for them to have two guys like that are, at this point, one guy is now leading the Big 12. It says a lot about how effective that running game is. But yeah, I mean, look, is there a blueprint that Texas Tech laid out to beating BYU? I'm not so sure, other than if you have the guys that can whip them up front, like Texas Tech seemed to have, and then the linebackers to clean it all up, then, it's a lot easier to play against a rush offense that is trying to rush the football. I mean, Texas Tech, I think, puts the screws to you in a way that creates nerves. I mean, we saw BYU is usually pretty good on special teams, and they were terrible. Special teams is a huge difference in this game. Obviously, BYU's defense exploded in the first series, and then they muffed the punt, which sets Texas Tech up perfectly. after that first series. They had a missed kick, a missed field goal. They had a shanked punt. They were fielding punts, that they probably shouldn't have and let go into the end zone. So I feel like some of that is just the pressure that Tech applies to you, that you have to be perfect, and because of that, their special teams is off. So ultimately, I think what we saw were two really good defenses. Again, Tech needs to figure out a way to be better, more effective in the red zone. They're at 53% in terms of their touchdown rate in the red zone. Their scoring rate's high, but I don't look at the scoring rate because, when you're in the red zone, three should be a given, especially for where Tech is. So I look at the touchdowns, and they're 29 touchdowns and 54 red zone trips. That's not good enough, to be at the top of the sport. But yeah, for BYU, I think defensively, they're still really good. And offensively, there were some holes that were shown, but we should have known that because it's a true freshman quarterback, and then special teams did make some mistakes that were crucial, I think, in this game.
Yeah. Ari, which of these three teams, TCU, Baylor, or Kansas State, or how do you rank them in the disappointing scale? Because Baylor and TCU have this very just kind of their feeling about them at this point in the season. That they have talent, but they are deficient so badly in certain areas that it's cost them games, even though, again, they could have won a lot of these. And then Kansas State, it just feels like the wheels fell off, and they've put them back on for temporary times, but not really, tightened the lug nuts all that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Paul. I think those are three, intriguing teams because, a lot of people thought Kansas State could win this conference. And so, a hugely disappointing season for where they are. I picked Baylor to win the Big 12. I figured, with the offense and everybody that returned in the running game, and then the fact that, Aranda would have a full offseason to fix the defense, like I was buying it. So, I'll probably put Baylor in that conversation. And yeah, TCU is very quietly, very much in the race until last week. And they were in complete control of that football game. They were up. It's surprising that Iowa State's defense was able to hold a what's been an explosive TCU offense. And to that point, it was like 17-6, and then it was 17-12. And then Iowa State gets the punt return for touchdown. And then Jeremy Payne has a 28-yard run for TCU. And then he puts the ball in the deck. It was just like crazy to watch that game unfold, honestly, the way that it was. And so I almost want to throw TCU at the top of that list, simply because, when we're looking at preseason expectations, you're probably talking about Baylor and Kansas State. But when we look at how this season has unfolded, TCU is still very much in it with the two conference losses. That would have been 7-2. And though we might not see a 2-loss Big 12 team get to the title game, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If you're within 2 wins, if you've got just 2 losses, you're in the conversation, as Utah is. So, I'd say for where we are in the season, from a preseason expectation standpoint, I'd say that's got to be either Kansas State or Baylor, and probably more Kansas State because I was one of the few that picked Baylor to win the conference. But I think the way that this has unfolded, TCU is a huge disappointment because they had an opportunity to go on the road, and beat a team that a lot of people have been beating. And they Caden Salter looked great against Iowa State's defense. So it's just surprising that TCU is so ineffective, especially in their passing game against a defense that, in the last 5 weeks has looked extremely ineffective.
Ari, Arizona got bowl eligible. Good for them. Nice step forward for Brent Brennan and company. So you can comment on that if you want, but you are a KU guy. And what is going on right now? What's kind of the feel with Lance Leipold and the Jayhawks? There's definitely a level of disappointment, maybe not to the extent of the others of where you were picked to be like preseason Big 12 winner, but it doesn't feel like things are good right now. Am I just misreading the situation, or can you kind of give me the insider perspective on how Jayhawks fans feel about the current state of things?
Yeah, I think first off, congrats to Brent Brennan in year 2 for getting his team to a bowl game. And I don't think that's you're making up anything. I think that is very real. I think it's extremely conflicting because, as we know, Kansas was just an atrocious program that Lance Leipold saved, but it appears that he could only deliver them to a certain point. And, some of that goodwill is absolutely running out. And it's maddening to watch this team consistently make the same mistakes. And we can go to the final decision. They have a 4th and 2 deep in Arizona territory. You've got a kicker that hasn't missed all year, but after the game, they said that he felt like he pulled something or didn't feel right following the 50-yard make he had earlier in the game. And, Lance Leipold said after the game that he wasn't sure that Jalen Daniels could have gone out there for the 4th down play. And that's the reason that he decided to kick the field goal. You do have a underclassman quarterback that has a similar skill set to Jalen Daniels. And it's like, take the context out, because I know context matters, but just big picture, it's just the same mistake over and over and over again. I mean, it's consistently playing not to lose. And we've seen that rear its head throughout games across the season. The Missouri game, I pointed that out, where, they're trying to run clock before half to get into halftime. And meanwhile, Missouri's taking timeouts. They get an extra 3 points before halftime, and then they score at a half. And suddenly what was a close game is now a 10-point swing. It's insane how conservative he is and how often it's blown up in his face, and his inability to see that and then adjust to it. Even earlier in this game, Kansas faced a 3rd and 5 from, I believe it was the Arizona 40, and they took a shot down the field, which I'm fine with. They got Emmanuel Henderson one-on-one coverage down the field, and they missed. And instead of going for it on 4th and 5, again, from the Arizona 40, you think you call that play because you've got 2 plays to get to 5 yards. Instead, they take a delay of game and then punt the ball. I mean, it's the same stuff over and over and over again. You've got a 6th-year quarterback. I'm not sure why you have to have kid gloves with a quarterback that's in his 6th year. So, yeah, I mean, this is me complaining because I was more frustrated after that Arizona loss than I've been as a Kansas football fan in a long time, because just we see this over and over and over and over again. When you play not to lose, you end up losing. And yet here's a guy that's been a really good coach in nearly so many different facets. Yet there's one area that is just, it's tough to reconcile that. And so, I don't have a great sense of how on the hot seat he is. My read on it is, he's going to get at least one more year, but I also wouldn't be totally shocked if he was out after this year. And I'll say this, they had 3 cracks to win their 6th game and get to bowl eligible. 2 more now with Iowa State this week, who obviously played a lot better, so it's not as easy of a win. And then Utah. If they end up 5-7, I'd say it's probably a 50-50 shot that Lance Leipold loses his job, because
that would be back-to-back, right? Here?
Yeah, I wonder how much the facilities expenditures might be like putting it off a year because of, he doesn't have a Brian Kelly $54 million buyout, but it's still money. I mean, it's still a huge chunk of money that they'd have to come up with for him, that with all the things that they're doing with the football stadium might just last another year. And maybe you don't want to get involved in this chaos, but you can check off boxes of everything that Lance Leipold does well. And you can have this huge list of like, man, really not had a coach like that at Kansas in a long time. And then you get to 4th quarter and just kind of defensive philosophy overall. And it's just big question marks on how they've gotten here. It's the same every single time.
Yeah. And again, go back to the 4th and 2, like, worst case scenario happened. You miss the kick, you don't get any points. But even if you do, they still can go down the field and score and go ahead. And I know your defense has played well all game, but your defense has let you down in that spot multiple times this season. So, counting on your defense in that spot was not the right choice. Lance Leipold has lost 7 of his last 9 games decided by 7 points or less. He's 8-14 as the head coach of Kansas in games decided by 7 points or less. That's not a coincidence, guys. These are decisions that are going into it each and every week that are dictating the outcomes of games, and they're the wrong decisions, and he's not learning from them. He continues to make the same mistakes. Paul, you're right. There are a lot of boxes he checks off. Kansas has had the fewest amount of players leave for the transfer portal since Lance Leipold has been there. That's huge. What he's done and to create credibility amongst his program, create accountability, to lift them up from a literal, they were an FCS program playing in the Big 12 for a decade. That is not hyperbole. That is what they were. So to get them to being credible to now being upset when they lose is a huge stepping stone. But you're also at a really important time in your program, because you're starting to get some buy-in from fans that's going to translate, to attendance, which they sorely need. I almost argue the opposite, Paul. Not that it's cost prohibitive, to get rid of them because you're spending this money on the stadium, but more so that, like, you can't afford another lame duck 6-6 year with Lance Leipold, with with the negative momentum you have with the program right now in terms of fan, a fan engagement. I mean, Lance got them to a point of fan interest that, was incredible considering the fan apathy that we'd seen for a long time. But now it's at a point of diminishing returns. So, and last year, you could chalk last year up to a bunch of different things and excuses. And look, you needed to win out at the end of the year in order to get to bowl eligible. But this year, to be where they were and to completely fumble down the stretch of the season and to now be on the precipice of going 5-7 yet again, that's inexcusable, especially with the roster that you have.
Last thing, and you're right. If I can hear the frustration in you, you sound like me for the last 15 years with Nebraska football. Real quickly, who, Cincinnati or Houston? If it's not Tech against either BYU or Utah, which of those two? And Cincinnati was spanked by Utah, but Utah's got to have a lot of things happen to get to the championship game. Which of those two, if one of them was to play Tech, who would it be?
I would say Cincinnati if you're making me pick. I was surprised by what happened against Utah simply because I thought going into the game that like Cincinnati had some dudes up front on both offense and defense, and Utah proved that they didn't. So I'm not sure they would give Texas Tech much of a game again, considering, Utah just whipped them up front on offense. And just look at the box score of any Utah game. If they're able to run the ball like they were, that means they're absolutely knocking you off the ball and destroying you. And that's what they did to Cincinnati. Houston's a great story. Look, 8 wins is incredible. They probably should not have won the game they won on Saturday, considering they were -2 in the turnover differential and Wigman had 4 picks. But I mean, give credit to Willie Fritz for having an 8-win season in year 2, considering where the talent and where this program is. I mean, that defense is salty. Mm-hmm. So, I'd say Cincinnati at this point in time. But I mean, really what I want to see is a rematch between Texas Tech and Utah. They feel like the 2 best teams in the conference. And it seems where Devin Dampier is right now, that they're in better position to at least make a game of it much different than what we saw from the Utah Texas Tech game the first time around.
Thank you, buddy. You look good. Have a great day. Ari, we'll see you soon. Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn with us on Tuesdays in the 3 o'clock hour. Coming up, Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports. Is he ready now? Let's go to Shahan Jayaraja with CBS Sports now. Shahan, thank you very much. And I know you, I kind of followed your road trip to Lubbock and all that was a part of that. In the end, was it much more than you could have? I know you went there and did a huge story as well about the program in the summer. What was it like for you this past weekend? Well, no audio. There we go.
Shahan, you got yourself muted.
That's my fault. That's my fault. Well, first, let me jump in and say I would not fire Lance Leipold, but let's go ahead and move on from that. So, it was so interesting, right? Because I've actually been at games at Texas Tech where like the crowd was maybe even a little louder and maybe controlled the game a little bit more. But I think that to kind of tell the story of this game, you have to tell the story of the whole week. And that's what I tried to do over at cbssports.com. This was a moment in so many ways that was 17 years in the making. When you look at Texas Tech's home schedule, especially, like there were not a bunch of big time games this season. Everybody had the BYU game scheduled. I heard of people who came from far and wide. I know that, I talked to some people who had friends who met at the 2008 version of Raiderville, and now they're married and have kids and all this sort of stuff. Like this was a family event in so many ways. And it was kind of an introduction in some ways for the younger generation to how things can be at Texas Tech. Obviously, they've gotten the chance to watch their team elevate themselves to being one of the best in the country. But I think that this moment felt even a little bit different than that. And what I mean by that is, like, Texas Tech has never played for a Big 12 championship. Obviously, they've never made the college football playoff. They've never even won the Big 12 since the conference was founded in 1996. And I think that walking away from that game, it wasn't just necessarily excitement for that game and that day. It was more just hope and excitement about what this program can become.
Shahan, what do you think about the long-term effects of this game for BYU? Because, most defenses probably aren't as good as Tech's. Well, I mean, they're not, to expose them like that, but they did expose them, and you'll see a lot of those things again, especially when it comes to keying on Bear Bachmeier for the rest of the year.
Yeah, look, I think that there's a couple pieces of this, right? One is I do think that Texas Tech is that quality of defense. If you look at metrics like SP+, like they are a top 5 defense in all of college football. And we even saw what they did against Utah, who has, I would argue a top 3 offensive line in college football. They completely shut them down offensively. So some of this conversation, like right now, it's a lot of focus is on, of course, BYU struggles, but I think that more credit than that deserves to go to Texas Tech for being really, really good. But the other piece of this as well is that BYU actually, we didn't necessarily think so heading into the year, but like they have an interesting slate to end the year with TCU and with Cincinnati. Those are 2 prove-it spots as well, just in the way that Texas Tech was previously. So I think that they have the opportunity to build their way back, but the playoff rankings come out tonight. I think that they're going to fall pretty precipitously. They were number 7 heading in. I think that's Utah sets a floor for them. They were number 13. And even though I think that Utah rates better than BYU in a lot of these metrics, it's a difference between a 2-loss and a 1-loss team, and BYU has the head-to-head. So I think that 12 is as far as they can fall, and that's going to at least keep them in position to stay alive. Now, I still think that we're going to get Texas Tech versus BYU in the Big 12 championship game, and I think it's going to be up to BYU. Look, again, you were uncompetitive through most of this game, and that's going to set a narrative about how people see you. That has to change by the time we get to Arlington.
Shahan, there were some things I thought I'd never see as a sports fan throughout my life, like 4 decades now. I never thought I'd see the Rangers win the World Series. They've done that. Never thought I'd see the Mavericks win the finals. They did that. They've been back, all that stuff. I feel like the one thing remains, I never thought, and this isn't from a fan point of view, just in general, I never thought I'd see Texas A&M football win a national championship. How realistic do you think that is at this point?
Yeah, well, I'll throw never see the Chicago Bears do anything of note. But anyway, it's
born after 85.
Well after 85. In fact. It's so I think that I go back to that LSU game, and that was the first moment that I was like, the way that Texas A&M carries itself is good enough to win a national championship. I do agree. This is a team that is good enough to win it all. And look, we can point to, players and matchups and all this sort of stuff. We can talk about the fact that they have one of the best receiver combos in college football, probably only behind Ohio State, but it's bigger than that. This is a team that is so freaking mentally tough. In that LSU game, for example, Marcel Reed had 2 interceptions in the first half, and they didn't blink one single time. They just kept moving forward. And I think that actually, when you talk about moving forward too, their top running back, Le'Veon Moss, has been out for a lot of the year. They just keep throwing new guys out there and finding ways around it. Like that's something that we've never seen from Texas A&M. We have never seen them be this tough. We have never seen them be this physical. We've never seen them overcome deficiencies and setbacks the way that this team is. And this is exactly what I envisioned, frankly, when Mike Elko was hired as the head coach at Texas A&M. He reminded me in so many ways of R.C. Slocum, but with the way that he was a former assistant at Texas A&M, he was a tough, defensive-minded coach, somebody who understands the culture of this place. The difference is R.C. Slocum didn't have access to more resources than almost anybody in all of college football, and Mike Elko does. So I think that this is a really good team. I think that when you talk about SEC teams especially, this is the most complete team in the SEC. Now, I still think that Ohio State for sure is a higher quality team at this point. And I think that Ohio State might be a higher quality team than everybody in college football at this point. But if you put them in a 1-game scenario, I think that Texas A&M is one of the few teams that really has a chance to go in and win a national championship.
What are your thoughts about the latest with the mess, dysfunction, and craziness in Louisiana with Brian Kelly and the buyout, and arguing whether or not they've fired him for cause or not, and backtracking on perhaps what they said originally?
Yeah, I'd love to know which lawyers are going to get some billable hours out of this one,
goodness,
because be serious. The reporting that had come out was that LSU had offered him $25 and $30 million to negotiate down his $53 million buyout. Why on earth would Brian Kelly care about that? Right? Like, you see examples. So there's a couple reasons why a coach might negotiate down their buyout, right? One, they want a clean separation, and maybe especially if they care about a place, right? Sam Pittman at Arkansas, like, he like to frankly still be a part of the community. He might retire to that place. Paul Christ at Wisconsin, similar deal, alum, former quarterback. The other reason to negotiate the buyout might be there might be a clause in the contract that requires you to search for new work after and hold another job for offset purposes. Well, if you want to get rid of that and just receive a lump sum short term, that's a good reason to do it. Well, if you're Brian Kelly, you don't care about any of that stuff, right? You're probably going to go look for another job regardless. And on top of that, like, you're not going to return to Louisiana. He's probably never going to step foot in the state of Louisiana ever again. This is just not a place where he ever cared to put roots. This is not a place that he ever cared to hold on to. And they also fired him very unceremoniously. So he knows he's going to be a villain for kind of the rest of his life in Louisiana. He doesn't care. So I just think that this is a silly thing for LSU to do. I think that if you thought that this was going to go well for you, you probably don't understand the situation very well. And I'm not a legal mind. I don't know how this stuff works always, but a lot of the time, if you sort of have this kind of wrongdoing, frankly, and it goes to a lawsuit, I mean, Louisiana might have to pay for both of their legal bills if they end up losing this case, and I don't see how they wouldn't.
Look, he can always gold belly in some gumbo if he wants to. So he doesn't. You're right. He does not have to go back. Shahan, do you think that this affects, maybe it's all of this together, that the governor is involved? They're trying to back out of this deal. If you're Lane Kiffin, especially if you're a big time coach that they may call, would this affect your enthusiasm for this job?
Well, here's what I'll say, right, is that Louisiana and Louisiana State University, like, it is arguably the most political job in the country. And what I mean by that is that, like the capital is an hour down the road. Everybody cares about LSU more than they care about just about it. Or actually, sorry, no, the capital is Baton Rouge. Sorry, apologies. Like, you are dealing with pressures in that state that are almost unique, even compared to the Alabamas or the Oklahomas. Like, this is a level where people in politics in Louisiana love to use LSU for their own purposes. We can go all the way back to Huey Long in the 1930s when you talk about governors and politicians getting involved in this and grandstanding and doing all this sort of stuff. So, like, you have to be up for that. Like, we talk about jobs that are political. This is the political job that there is. The thing that might give me a little bit of, honestly, that might reassure me a little bit, I guess I'd say, is that they very quickly said, we got to hire a full-time president. We got to hire a full-time athletic director. These are going to be the guys you're working with. These are the guys that we're committing to. I think that helps tamp things down just a little bit. But here's the reality as well, and this is true at LSU, this is true at Auburn, this is true at Florida, this is true at Penn State. Like, if you're in a good situation right now, which, by the way, Lane Kiffin is, you got to start asking, is it worth changing something that's working well? Is it worth changing a situation that's good to step into something that could very quickly become a hornet's nest? And again, I still believe that Lane Kiffin is probably going to stay at Ole Miss. We'll see what happens. He's going to have great opportunities in front of him, but I would not be surprised if Florida and LSU and Penn State especially have to start going to their second, third, and fourth options.
Shahan, where were you, and what was your initial reaction when you saw the Omar Cooper catch for Indiana on Saturday?
I was walking around Lubbock, Texas, trying to get back to my hotel after the game, and I mean, it's just like, the thing that's so cool about this Indiana team is that it's built so differently than the one last year. Now, obviously, defensively, they're still really tough, but I mean, they sling the ball in a different kind of way than even we saw last year. I think that, to see them make plays like that in tight games against really good defenses, like, it's crazy. And I mean, I think that last year we saw these moments where Indiana, would struggle and get a little overwhelmed by the moments. Like, I don't think that that's been the case at all this year. This is a team that is, I think, more confident than any we've ever seen. I think that, Curtis Rourke is a really, really good college quarterback, but Fernando Mendoza has been a complete other level. So it's unbelievable what they've done. I mean, we kind of thought that last year was a magical season for Indiana. They've managed to one-up it. And especially when you start getting to this point in the season, you just got to survive to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, you do. It was a possible Heisman moment. Let's see how things play out. And an unbelievable catch to defy gravity. Absolutely.
You guys got anything else?
No, you got one more?
Yeah, one more. Big weekend for OU in Texas and the playoff and the SEC. Do you think it's an 0-2 weekend for the Red River brothers in arms? Do you think it's a 2-0, 0-2, or do you think they split? And if they do, which game do you think is more likely to be a win for one or the other?
I think it's 0-2. I think that, it's interesting, right? Because we've seen flashes from every direction from both these teams, right? We've seen moments where John Mateer looks like the best quarterback in the country. We've seen moments where Arch Manning looks comfortable and poised, but it's one of those things where now they're going to be playing aggressive physical defenses with 5 stars and NFL draft picks along the field. Like, how will they match up to that moment? I'm a little concerned, to be quite honest. The big question for me is in Alabama versus Oklahoma, which team is able to get the ball downfield over the top of the defense better? Because I think that both Oklahoma and Alabama are really good up front. It's going to be a question of whether Oklahoma can match Alabama and Ty Simpson going down the field. And from my perspective, I think the answer is no, to be frank. Texas, Georgia is also interesting because I do think that the switch they made, moving their center over to left guard and inserting a new center, I think that has ended up being a really good decision for them. I think that some of the improvement you've seen on the offensive line is real, but also the gap between doing it against Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt is different than having to do it against Georgia this week and Texas A&M in the final week of the year. So I think that ultimately it's an 0-2 weekend for them, but this is going to be a week where I think we really start to clarify what the playoff picture looks like. If Oklahoma loses this game, I think they're out. If Texas loses this game, I think that they're the one team that will have a chance at 9-3 with the way that they end the year with 2 top 5 teams, but it becomes way, way, way harder. And then on top of that, let's throw Notre Dame going and playing Pittsburgh as well. That's one of their last couple of tests. If all 3 of those teams lose this weekend, I think that all of a sudden it shakes up the entire playoff picture.
Yeah, Texas, if they lose, would have to beat A&M.
Yeah,
and which 100%. Again, who knows with that one? But they would have no room. Zero room for error, but they have put themselves back in position. Shahan, great stuff. Love the story. You talked about how it was a 2-decade climb for Tech to put themselves in that position. And Raiderland, everything else in Lubbock was just fantastic, including the football team. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shahan Jararaja with us on Tuesdays, back-to-back Ari and Shahan. Now, when we come back, we'll have the kind of a look at the AP Top 25. The rankings for college football playoff are tonight. We'll break some of the top 25 down in a couple of other notes. And again, a couple of more flashbacks, memories of those who served our country. We'll have a picture of Paul's father, among others. That and more on this Veterans Day. This is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store. And the holidays around the corner. Hams, they got a bunch of them. Turkeys, they'll have turkeys. If you want to, maybe a big filet mignon, they'll have that for you. Rib roast, they'll have that for you. You want steaks, they'll cut them exactly the way you want, from ribeyes to T-bones to porterhouse to New York strips and even the big, thick bacon wrap or not bacon wrap filet. It is Waco Custom Marketplace. They have the marinades and the seasonings, custom orders early in the week. For example, if you're in the Waco area and you're going to the game and tailgating Saturday before Utah and Baylor that night, you send a note. You get in touch. This is what I want. Tri-tip, brisket, whatever. They have charcoal and pellet fuel, cold beer and wine. You can go pick it up on Friday afternoon or on Saturday morning too. Yeah, chicken tenders, chicken wings, burgers, sausage. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store off Lake Air Drive in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports on this Tuesday evening. We appreciate your time. If you have not subscribed to our channel, we would love for you to do that. We'd appreciate you do that. And also hit the like button. Also watching on Twitter at 365 Sports YT. Andrew, are we getting to the TikTok era yet?
No.
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 Is that a legal issue?
No, it's a technical one that Andrew, with all of his great knowledge, has not quite figured out yet. But
he knows a lot, though. He does know a lot. He does absolutely know a lot.
Here's the great thing about Andrew. He has a thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, he'll get to it.
He wants to know all these things. So in the long run, he will figure it out by gum. So.
All right. So here is yesterday. Again, tonight, the college football rankings will be released, week number 2. But the AP Top 25 that came out yesterday, and this is a little bit of a different look. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm looking at a bingo card or something, or a lottery ticket. But there is the top 25. There was some movement because you had teams like BYU losing Tech, just kind of right there entrenched inside the top 10. Texas and OU nibbling up. BYU dropped a little bit. And some teams, of course, took the big fall. Anything out of here? Top 5, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Georgia probably would be that way across the board from most places.
Yeah, Georgia Tech at 14, Georgia Tech at 14, I think they deserve to be higher, in my opinion. They had one bad loss, but they also haven't had that, epic of a schedule this year, especially the way it's played out, so I kind of get it. I think I don't like how far BYU dropped. It bothers me, especially when Texas was off. Like, you couldn't just drop BYU to 10 and leave Texas where they were. Like BYU losing and Texas not playing didn't really change my opinion about either team as much. But again, I'm not a voter. And outside of that, I don't really have many qualms with the poll.
Craig?
No, I mean, I don't have a bunch of thoughts on this because the rankings that matter are tonight. But I do think, as many people pointed out, this is the AP now just copying the other polls. I mean, or copying the playoff poll. In some ways, I think you're seeing that. What was the move they had? What was the arrangement? They had somebody in front of somebody else that didn't make a lot of sense, and they readjusted that this week. And I'm trying to remember what the exact combination was, but damn it, I can't think of it right now.
Was it Miami, Notre Dame?
No, Miami's still behind.
There's still a distance.
That's one of the big complaints still by the Fighting Irish folks, by the Miami folks, and I've seen a lot of complaining about that. I can't recall what it was, but I think it was putting Texas back in front of Oklahoma is what it was. Because Oklahoma was ahead of Texas, and now Texas is back ahead of Oklahoma.
And it was 23-6 when they played, about 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, because now Texas is at 10. They jumped up 3 spots. Oklahoma didn't move. So
I would have been fine if Texas was 11 and OU was 12 and BYU was 10 or something in that nature. But, you're right about the correcting that.
I think that's more justified based on the fact that Texas didn't play last week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't play. So moving them up,
3 spots
when they didn't even play, they didn't play. And, some of it, if you're going to say the eye test is part of this, then outside of the win against Vanderbilt, Texas and the eye test is not great.
You bring up the eye test tomorrow at 4 with Dave Bartu. He's coming down.
I know. I'm just talking about the people who do this poll.
Yeah.
That's all that they do.
Well, that's a lot of it's arguable of how much it's eye test and also box score reading is what a lot of it is, or standings reading. I think that's been proven time and time again. Now, I'm not going to get on my soapbox and tell you how I would be better about it and all this and that, but I think that's logical. And having covered the sport long enough, I know, how it kind of works. So I do think there is an element of that, and I think there's brand recognition. But Texas goes all the way up to number 10 despite not playing. And there was nobody other than BYU that had lost that was right there in that vicinity. So they jumped over Oklahoma, which, again, I just feel like is a correction. They had beaten Vanderbilt, so that's understandable that they would be ahead of Vanderbilt as well. I think the top 5 are pretty much what you would expect at this point, and it's going to be that way until they start knocking each other off in some form or fashion. But they all look very strong. Ohio State, Indiana on a collision course there, but Oregon's still hanging around as well. So the Ducks with that massive win there in Iowa City, I mean, they kept this race from becoming really a 2-team race down the stretch for the Big Ten. Notre Dame moves up. I mean, they get every benefit of the doubt. Boy, do they hate Joey McGuire up in South Bend, Indiana, man. They cannot stand. He's their new favorite enemy, Joey McGuire.
I saw somebody say something about you have a team that's doing this for the first time ever, and yet reeled off Notre Dame's history, including last year, of course, being really good. It was a guy. He said what everyone's thinking.
He was a guy who writes for a Notre Dame website, so I can't believe he was impartial. He was knocking Joey McGuire, and he went to the well of, even though this guy's probably like 26 years old or something, he went to the history well of, how dare this guy on a team that's barely been ranked compared to us? Like, it's about this year. You get that, right? Like, if you're going to get on the soapbox and you're going to be so affirmative in how you talk, then at least be aware that it's about this year, not about history. And I get that history always favors you, so you always go to it because it always comes in handy because you always win that argument because you have all that history. Now, if you want to get into they should be given the benefit of the doubt because of what they've done in the past and all that. But, I think saying, Notre Dame should be ahead of Texas Tech because they've been in the AP poll more time. Like, that's bullshit. That's a stupid reason. If you want to argue it's over strength of schedule, that's another thing entirely. So I disagreed with attacking Joey from that perspective. Because it doesn't matter if you're a new booty or you're the old guard. If you're winning, you're winning, and if you're 8-1, you're 8-1. And
that's what blue bloods like.
That's what they get cranky over that.
Otherwise, I did that a couple of times the last 5 or 10 years, and eventually the 5 national titles for my favorite team mean nothing.
Right, and
Nothing.
guess what? I haven't seen Notre Dame win a national championship. So for all that history, I haven't seen it, and I'm old as hell at this point.
88.
So, well, still didn't see it, but
you were like 4.
Not even that. So
I did not allow him
I don't
to watch
have
TV.
it in present day any memory of Notre Dame winning a national title. Now I'm not trying to be anti-Irish. I saw that comment. It pissed me off because it was the typical Homer reporter thing, and name calling Joey McGuire. Joey McGuire would stuff you in a locker, dude. Get real about this. Everybody talks brave on social media, and that was a prime example of it. But does Notre Dame have a case to be ahead of Texas Tech? Sure, there's a way to say that and explain that. I'm sorry for getting on my soapbox, but that just really pisses me off when I see people pull that card and then try to act tough on social media when if Joey McGuire was standing in front of him, it would not be that bold and it would not be that confrontational.
There's no reason to get into violence or whatever. Yeah,
well, not that. It's just an example of just popping off, and then you get the rest of the Notre Dame fans who are backing your play. But that was a funny little riff that I saw from this week. And getting back to the actual genuine nature of it is, Notre Dame fans now have a bone to pick with Texas Tech and Joey McGuire. And you know what? It's somewhat I get where they're coming from, because what he said, for those that don't know, was that BYU deserves some respect for the schedule that they played and being in a conference. And he said, unlike that other team, and he didn't reference Notre Dame. So that's what they had a bone to pick, and that's fair. And I think part of the comment was well, say their name, don't be scared. It's dude, he's not a coward. When you start to go that route, that's when I go, make the point that, if you're going to say something, say Notre Dame's name. But don't then act like you can sit there and turn it into he's a wuss or he's scared or anything like that. I don't think he's scared of anything. I just think he was supporting BYU as much as anything else.
By the way, go put that back up if you don't mind, Brandon, sir. Thank you very much. Who's number 6?
Ole Miss.
Who's 7?
Oregon.
Ole Miss moved up from 7 to 6. Oregon dropped from 6 to 7, winning a game against a team that was in the top 25 on the road in terrible conditions in Iowa.
Yep.
Ole Miss beat the Citadel.
Well, I mean, they have "the" in their name. They're officially scary.
The University of Texas, the Ohio State University. I get it, but
they're
the
an actual Citadel. Have you ever gotten into a Citadel? No.
No, I knew a kid that actually committed and played basketball.
So, no, I don't. That's box score watching right there, where you're 18-15 against Iowa. Well, the weather was total garbage. Iowa does that to almost everyone they play in the history of time, and Ole Miss played their SEC special. That should be maybe a guideline that they send out. When the SEC teams play their SEC special in November, leave them where they are.
Yeah, no, I don't think you should get any credit for beating the Citadel if you beat them 100-0, especially if you're a top 5-ish program currently in college football. But it's the AP poll, so screw it. I'm not going to get that worked up about it. We'll see the real rankings later on tonight that are going to matter in the big picture. And I'm not, again, one of those anti-AP voters and everything like that, although they do make some very questionable decisions on a weekly basis. I'm glad that there is a committee in this case, that we're not going simply off the AP, because what if that was just the AP or the coaches' polls call, and you have Ole Miss for no reason whatsoever jumping over Oregon? That would matter greatly. I would think the committee knows better. We'll see how they kind of lay out the dominoes tomorrow. But, that was one that left you scratching your head a little bit. I'm not sure what the purpose was. I don't get in any way what made you have them jump over Oregon. And I've tried to actually spend a few minutes what's the logic here? There is no logic to it. There is no logic that blowing out Citadel at home versus going on the road to Iowa City against a top 25-ish team and beating them in the rain and cold and coming up with a clutch victory, how you get dinged a spot for that versus you should have just played the Citadel, I guess. I guess you should have just played the Citadel and you would have stayed right where you are. So, that made absolutely no sense.
It's a hard team to play, especially on the road. The weather was awful, and that should be taken. They won.
Yeah.
They won on a road against another team that was ranked. But that was one I wanted to bring up. Other than that, USF slides in. James Madison's right there at 24-25. Cincinnati's at 22. The biggest drop were the Cavaliers. They dropped 8 spots to 20. Louisville dropped 5 spots to 19, and the biggest jump there was nobody that really what BYU dropped 4. Texas went up 3. Tennessee, Utah, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, and Miami moved up a couple of spots, and USC moved up 3. So did Michigan.
By the way, those 24 and 25 ranked teams, JMU and USF, have coaches that will be on my eventual top 5 Mike Norvell replacements list.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You don't want to keep him around a little longer?
No.
We talked about Florida State this past weekend.
No, it was one of the first weeks we haven't mentioned them in
Why do you look like you're trying to pass a kidney stone when you say that?
Because they played Clemson on national television on ABC. I watched it.
The ACC. ACC network.
Oh, so you sure?
Here's the thing. Like against Stanford and the other times they've gotten the ACC network B team, which is really that's just 1,000 B things. But they did get the ACC network's A team this week of Wes Durham and Steve Adazio, so that did make the game a little bit more watchable. But you've got a Clemson team that has literally given up this year. Like you look at them, they're defeated, but they do still, extract joy from beating FSU. And they didn't play a game that you'd be like, oh, damn, Clemson's unbelievable. It's just like if you could have 2 uninspired teams running at each other, it's like a spaghetti fight. And then you just watch one of them be like, we're tired.
I think I saw a few of the sentiments being with some of these jobs, like, let's think about, Dave Aranda last year could have very well been fired. I mean, even though they won like 8 games, like you could have made a case because people there's some people that want to change, right? But you go, man, we got this quarterback coming back, and we got this, and we got that, and we got this, and you're like, okay, you know what? They should actually be pretty good in 25. Let's give him one more year, and if he doesn't win with this team, then all bets are off. And I think that's where we are now. It's like you're not winning enough with this team after what we expected. But you had at least the reason to go, okay, now we get it. With Mike Norvell, there's no reason to believe that next year is going to be any better than what he's doing right now. Like, there's no reason to think that this is going to suddenly be on the way back up, or they're going to go get some stud recruit this offseason and that he's going to flip the switch for them. Like, there's just no momentum there, and there's nothing to glean onto. If there was something to glean on, like, hey, there's 54 freshmen playing, and they're all awesome, but there's not that necessary. Like, there's nothing to go, Florida State's in good hands right now.
Well, and when you look at it, when it comes down to their recruiting, he is Mr. Top 3. There's a ton of guys who come to Tallahassee to have a big old time. There's nothing not to like about the university and all that stuff. They have a great weekend, and everybody's happy. And then they're like, yep, the FSU's in my top 3. They're in my top 2. And then it comes down to it, and they're like, I'm going to Ohio State. Like, so that used to be much more of a 50-50 proposition. Now it's not even close. Like, when they get a guy over Ohio State, you have to wonder if Ohio State maybe backed off a little bit.
Yeah,
like if they're like,
Ohio
we
State,
got the other guy we wanted now.
Unless there was some lineage involved or something like that.
I'll tell you who it was. It's Brock Glenn. Was it Ohio State? Ohio State,
that's right.
And then they backed off him because they got Aaron Noland, and then he went to FSU. So.
All right, can we talk about a team that won this past weekend?
Sure,
Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson, Nebraska running back, and a win against UCLA. I actually have not always been impressed with him, but look at the numbers, Brandon. This is from the past 5 games. They won. They beat UCLA on the road. Okay, it was great to win because they haven't had many of them. He is on a heater. He is on an absolute heater and getting a lot of recognition, won like a couple of different awards this week. But they don't get much. They haven't had much to say since Ndamukong Suh. But he is having himself a run and a big win to get the 7 wins and not have to, Penn State, and then they have Iowa. So each, but there they are.
Well, they're securely in the postseason, and they'll maybe win 8 or 9 games. So that's a nice step forward for Matt Rule, and it's year 3. It's time to start winning more. So this is kind of on track for them. I do think, though, that PFF College here is really shortchanging Emmett Johnson. He also had 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in that game.
That's the 32 touches.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
okay. I was reading that as a running. Okay,
he's a really good threat out of the. He's a pretty good pass catcher too.
Okay, yeah. So I wasn't looking closely at the yardage or even the numbers. I was seeing touches, and I was thinking of a running back. So yeah, I mean, he had 129 on the ground. and a score, and then 103 yards on 3 catches and 2 TDs, which is just insane. And, he's been on an absolute tear here lately, and that was a really nice win for Nebraska on the road with the UCLA team that's still not great and is not going to be going to the postseason or anything. But I think given where they were at the beginning of the year has really saved a lot of face and has been at least a team that's competing and at times has looked actually pretty good. Nico Iamaleava has had some moments here and there, but that was super impressive. And what do you think? Is there a quarterback controversy in Lincoln next year?
I'll tell you what I think. One thing that kid, Latif, he's got, obviously has to put on some muscle, whatever. He'll have his phone blowing up now.
Oh, yeah.
Because Raiola's coming back, whatever. But did you see the way that team reacted around him?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It was there's something there. I'm not going to sit there and blast Raiola, but Latif, he's from Compton. First of all, he got out of Compton, California, and then played in his backyard against the UCLA. So that he seems to be a fun story. I think they're just as good to be 8-4, whatever they can get to if they win another game.
Yeah, I don't want to overreact because oftentimes the guy plays his first game and he's really good, and then like a few games go by and things even out. But also being a homecoming of sorts, although the Rose Bowl is not, as we know from what UCLA is currently doing with their stadium
crowd?
plans.
It was
not that close.
Nobody there for UCLA.
We didn't even. That's a thing we didn't go over either.
Yeah, we'll get to that probably tomorrow because we don't have time.
But that's something we got to talk about.
But Latif was really impressive, and Emmett Johnson's been great, and good for Matt Rule and company. Good for them.
It was a nice win. They're 7-3. It's better than having to win their last 2 and to get to bowl eligible. So that's something that's different.
They're 1-0 since Matt Rule called you.
They won that night, but then lost to USC.
Okay, so they're 1. Okay.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, Craig Smoak off the radar. We have some more memories, of course, this Veterans Day. We'll have those for you, too. John McClain today at 5 o'clock. We do appreciate it. I have not mentioned them because I'm not sure if they have been good or not, but Brandon Rowe, and there's Garrett Ross, and there's also Andrew Valade. We appreciate them for all of what they do. And Logan Bagesi. He's not here. I haven't seen him, but he's also a part of it in some way. And also, of course, our great sponsors. This is 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills and Richland Drive in Waco. Cheyenne and Joshua run it, own it. And 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded with cigars. The other day I went in there just to kind of, I mentioned this. I have a torch lighter. It's from my oldest brother. It's a torch lighter, but it was kind of hitting and missing. So I went in there. They cleared it out. There's sometimes you can get a bubble of air. And so they cleaned it up. Boom. It's been working ever since. And I picked up, when I'm there, I always pick up a handful of some cigars, 2 or 3 La Fontana, a couple of Romeo and Julietas, Macanudo, really good cigars. I like the Churchill length. It's great, especially when you're playing a round of golf. And they have them available, plus Padron, Cohiba, and more. If you want, they have humidors for sale to put the cigars in, pouches to keep it, the humidity what you want. You can get fancy with some of those humidors. Fresh coffee beans. They'll grind them for you as well. Cowboy is one of the favorite, and not because of the Dallas football team. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. Special is subject to credit approval and membership eligibility. Visit GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Time for Off the Radar, taking a look at some stories from around the sports world. And officially, ding dong, that dumbass is gone in Dallas. Nico Harrison.
They treated you were raised better than that.
Dumbass was the lightest word I could think of using because I had some others in mind that I would much prefer, that I actually feel like actually are more of what I feel like in regards to Nico Harrison. But thank God for the Mavericks fans that are still out there. They have had a big change occur today as Nico Harrison has been fired officially by the organization about a day or so after Tim McMahon from ESPN, who's always been locked in with the Mavs, had reported that this was likely going to happen soon. You had Patrick Dumont, who is their governor, who was in attendance for like the first time in forever last night, and they were fans booing the hell out of Nico and chanting "Fire Nico" and all of these different things. And of course, this all stems from the totally, still to this day, completely unexplainable and at the time completely unforeseen trade of Luka Doncic to the Lakers last year that caused people like me, and I know I'm not alone, I know I'm in the minority, but I'm not alone, to just give up our fandom of the Dallas Mavericks because of what I still feel is just a betrayal, quite frankly, from ownership to the fans. And as much as people tried to explain this, Stephen A., I remember, Anthony Davis is a great player. He's a Hall of Fame. Like all this stuff. It's like when he's available, which he hasn't been basically his entire Mavericks career. I've actually heard more pundits who benefit from Luka being in L.A., mind you. There's always more to the story, especially with talking heads on TV. But I've seen more times people say, well, Anthony Davis this and Anthony Davis that, and this is why you should be glad, and this is why you should be grateful. I've seen that more than I've seen him actually score points in a Mavericks uniform.
Well, he's missed 6 games already this year, and they've only played 8 games.
Guess what he used to do in L.A.?
Miss a bunch of games. Yeah. He missed a bunch of games, still missing a bunch of games, has contributed little to nothing. Now, I'm not anti-Anthony Davis. I have nothing against him. I have nothing for him or against him. I think he's a Hall of Famer and a great player, but he's not right now, and he definitely hasn't been in Dallas. But that was their big return. No multitude of draft picks like anybody else would have put together in a package for Luka Doncic. Anthony Davis was basically what you got, and he has spent more time on the bench than actually on the court. So that is the trigger for this move. and it's 9 months overdue. The trade should never have happened, but it did, and we move on. And now the Mavs move on from Nico Harrison after that disastrous decision last year. You know, Dirk's on this Amazon broadcast now, and he's actually great, and the Amazon broadcasts are getting a lot of great reviews. Like, I saw a clip going viral of a Jokic doing the show and saying, like, I like you guys. Basically, it felt like some shade at the TNT broadcast because a lot of people don't like Shaq, the players, and Barkley and them always – kind of bullying them in some ways or talking trash. And I think Amazon's kind of a refreshing, more respectable.
I think the fans like TNT more because those guys are not afraid to call people out.
Right.
The players don't like being called out.
Exactly. And sometimes unfairly because those guys aren't always right. But, this was a move that needed to be made, but I feel like it's long overdue. You can't change history, but Patrick Dumont in his statement, this decision reflects our continued commitment to building a championship caliber organization, one that delivers for our players, our partners, and most importantly, our fans. In regards to what they do now, assistant GM Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi have been promoted to lead basketball operations on an interim basis. So they have dueling basketball ops department heads now with the former Mavs great and Michael Finley along with Matt Riccardi. And, Dumont in his letter also went on to say, no one associated with the Mavericks organization is happy with the start of what we all believe would be a promising season. You have high expectations for the Mavericks, and I share them with you. When the results don't meet expectations, it's my responsibility to act. Though the majority of the 25-26 season remains to be played, and I know our players are deeply committed to a winning culture, this decision was critical to moving our franchise forward in a positive direction. He had no mentions of Luka or anything in regards to the trade. They did not address that at all, but if you want to read the full letter, I'm not going to read it all. You can read it, and ding dong, the witch is gone, and witch is being nice. Can't stand Nico Harrison, and will never ever live what he did down from last year.
Paxton wants to know: are you back on the Mavericks?
Nope.
Okay, nope. I said that would be like Paxton, who's a die-hard UT fan, liking Oklahoma and A&M. It would be the same way.
Yeah, I'm not back on. No.
And look, it's going to take like.
You like the Spurs traded Duncan.
I think you can.
In his prime. They traded Duncan when he was 25 years old. Yeah, that's what they did for nothing.
I think you can jump back on because you had a righteous grievance.
Sure.
But I also know you, Craig, and if you decide never to get back on, then you won't. Like you're a guy who sticks to his guns. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people need to understand about sports. There are not many people that are untradeable. Even Luka is not untradeable. But if you're going to trade Luka Doncic, you should get a king's ransom, something that sets you up to rebuild your franchise after that and not have to rely on.
They got a Hall of Famer in Anthony Davis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you have to
Hall of Fame bench rider at this point.
When they said, okay, and I saw a lot of people like Anthony Davis is an all-star. He got an all-star for an all-star. It's like, yeah, but at different points in their careers, like you can't just say it's
and that's what I was getting at with the whole rant on the TV guys and all of that. Yeah.
It's like saying like, hey, both The Godfather and The Island of Dr. Moreau have Marlon Brando in them, so they're both good movies. Like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
It's different. So you have to get something, and you have to open it up. They kind of kicked it around with a couple other teams about trading a superstar for a superstar, and those teams were like, no, we're fine. This doesn't make any sense. So what did Nico do? He went to where he's going to go work pretty soon.
Yeah.
The friggin' Lakers.
I'm sure.
And offered them
they ought to be paying him.
Dude, he went to them first. That's how it all started.
Well, maybe he won't because he hates Luka so much.
He didn't go to – well, yeah, I don't think he'll go –
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Luka's now in L.A., so Luka, who signed an extension and everything, he's not going to want Nico around. Absolutely not. So, yeah, I mean, that does seem like the logical choice. But now, Luka's there? No, I don't think Nico Harrison will be around. If he is, it's like behind the scenes and something else. Maybe go sell shoes again or something for Nike. I don't know. But a complete moron, one of the dumbest trades in sports history. And finally he got his comeuppance. And he said defense wins championships and this and that. They're 3-8 to start the year. And it never should have gotten to this point. I'll never get over it. I don't care how many times people get over it. I mean, I'm over it as far as like I don't harbor it. But when the topic gets addressed again, I am going to talk about it. I'm going to be passionate about it because I was a Mavs fan when they were irrelevant and the worst team in the NBA growing up. And to see them go to the heights that they did with Dirk Nowitzki and then Luka having them in the finals and then be told, oh, well, all the things that we were told, all of the misleading media things that were out there about Luka and his weight and all these different things they tried to massage to fit the narrative that they wanted to fit. It never fit. Nobody bought it that had a brain cell, and I'm glad his ass is out of Dallas, but it doesn't make me a Mavericks fan. They'd have to sell the team. If you want to know what would bring me back, they would have to sell the team to
like
somebody
Daniel
else.
Snyder did.
Yeah,
the
I'm not supporting the Adelson
team.
family. Screw them too. They allowed this to happen. So great news for Mavs fans, though, that Nico's gone and they can move on from that and hopefully start a new chapter that's much more successful than the last year certainly has been. So there you go. Nico Harrison finally out of Dallas. We'll see where they end up and where he ends up. Meanwhile, last night, talk about ugly, that Eagles-Packers game. Ugh. Good grief.
Hey, the Eagles won because they picked up a guy in a trade who had a huge game for them against a team that they're 5-2-1 and 6-3. That's a nice win, or 6-2, right? Philadelphia
7-2.
They found a way. Well, as the game went, found a way to separate from a team that for home field advantage later in the year.
Well, it was an absolutely abysmal closeout for the Packers. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened to Josh Jacobs on the last drive, but it's like his brain just malfunctioned, and he's turning the wrong way on a pass that probably would have been like a 60-yard gain, and he's fumbling the football, and two just massive errors for Josh Jacobs, and he wasn't the sole responsible party for their loss last night, not when you lose 10-7. But, yeah, the Eagles roll into Lambeau. They win. They're now 7-2. The Packers 5-3-1, and now some hot seat talk of, like, do they have the right head coach in place and what direction are the Packers going? But the Eagles win again, and that's pretty much what they do all the time now.
I like their coach. I do. He looks like he's 14, but I like him. LaFleur, you know what? They made the trade. Are they better than they were before they made the trade? Micah's having a good year, but they're having some issues with Love on offense, and they're just not producing.
I mean, the trade doesn't affect their offense at all. So no, I don't think they're better defensively. I guess they're technically better as a team because the offense is what the offense is, but the offense is not good enough for them to be winning football games right now. So.
Yeah, boy, when Love came into Dallas and won that playoff game and looked so amazing, you thought he was set up for, okay, this is his year. It just hasn't worked that way. 5-3-1. A lot of teams would love to be that way.
They're just kind of bland.
Yes.
Like I've watched the Packers a few times.
Well, they scored 23 points in their last two games.
What do you call that, Craig? They're just fine.
They're fine, but they scored 23 points. So there's a lot of like, oh God, what's wrong with this offense? What are we doing here? And a lot of overreaction, I'm sure, as well, because they had reeled off some wins prior to that. But, the Packers lose last night to the Eagles 10-7. So you didn't miss a lot of highlights, really, if you did not get to tune in to that one. Meanwhile, a couple of games tonight in the college football world. You got Kent State at Akron coming your way later on tonight as we got a doubleheader going on with Kent State at Akron. That's a 6:30 Central Time broadcast on ESPNU. And you've got the Golden Flashes at 3-6, the Zips at 4-6. Both of them, well, I guess not exactly. Kent State 2-3 in the MAC, Akron 3-3 in the MAC. So just one game separation there. Also later on tonight, you got Ohio 6-3, 4-1 in the MAC. Against Western Michigan. This is a big one, 5-4, 4-1 in the MAC. So a couple of the lessers as far as the standings go. But then in that Ohio-Western Michigan game, a very important one as they're both 4-1 in league play. So some action, double action headed your way later on tonight.
I tell you what, I remember back when they started playing games midweek, the big, what was it, the Mountain West, or TCU was there and they were getting some exposure. I love it. Going home on Tuesday or Wednesday, I know there's games Thursdays, but Tuesday and Wednesday, doing some work and having college football in the background. It's just, now they've had this YouTube TV fight and the battle that continues, but if I really wanted to watch one of these games, I would put it on my laptop in ESPN Plus or whatever it is, but I love those games during the week.
So Akron, a little over touchdown favorites. That's 6:30 ESPNU, and then Western Michigan at home, 1.5-point favorites in that bigger matchup there. That starts at 7 on ESPN2, so you can have those dueling going on later on tonight, along with whatever else you're going to be watching. And I'll leave that there before we don't have time to get into the Commanders. We don't have time.
Don't even bring them up.
No, they're not being brought up anymore. We don't have time for me to return to talking about Nico Harrison either.
No, you
deserve it. I'm glad you're out. And what a great day for the Mavericks organization.
Let
I'll
me
leave
ask
it there.
you that, Craig, you vented. You get it out?
I still.
No, but I think you got. Don't you think, Paul? He kind of like he got a little bit of it out today.
Yeah, I do. I think look, it's a victory.
I think so.
The scab got ripped off.
Yeah, because it brings back the memories
Yeah.
of he's a dumbass, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's a total dumbass, and I could continue talking about that, but I won't. And if there's ever an ownership change and somebody goes and buys the Mavericks the next few years, then I'll revisit my fandom. It sucks, but it is what it is. And I'm going to stick to my guns on that. So,
Garrett, who's worse, Brian Kelly, Nico Harrison, or Daniel Snyder?
Oh, I mean, I think it either has to be Nico or Daniel Snyder. I mean, one of those two. Probably Snyder because his reign lasted so much longer. But seeing the pain that he put on Craig with Nico, damn, I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, Snyder never. Like I've never wavered on my favorite teams across the board, even when they suck, like Nebraska now. But I've never. I hated Daniel Snyder. I hated the organization the way it was, but I never wavered. But in this case, when you take the heart and soul of a franchise that leads you to the next 10 or 12 years, I could see being gutted. I can be.
you better move on before I start ranting again. Because
Paul, do you think he got over? I think so. He released a little bit of it.
Because you didn't experience anything like this. This would be like have traded Jaden Daniels off, like trading Patrick Mahomes or something at 26 years old with a couple of MVPs and having appeared for some dude who's like 36.
Team at
Spurs never did that.
Yeah, no.
Nobody has. That's
Washington
the whole point.
Redskins football team Commanders. I don't think there was.
Daniel Snyder bought a team that was a distressed asset at the time,
right?
And then continued to distress it.
Well, yeah. Then they started Albert Hainsworth, and they Garrett just like I brought up a bad. But you're right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Daniel Snyder didn't take over the team a year after they appeared in the Super Bowl with their 25-year-old quarterback and then traded him for like a 38-year-old who won 2 Super Bowls back in the freaking early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what you're looking at. But, hey, this dude was great. Yeah, 6 years ago when he was healthy. So, y'all got me worked up. I'm trying to be
I'm
cool.
trying to keep it. I want to keep it. He began owning
John
Washington
McClain.
in 99.
Coming
John
up
McClain
next.
will come up next. We also have Paul's top 5. Did you do it on The Witch is Dead?
No, I had already had one in the barrel.
All right, we have top 5. We'll have
Rhymes
the
with
Wheel of Destiny, and then also we'll have quizzes and the poll results and more. This is 365 Sports. John McClain is next, and Marco's Pizza could be next. Have you gotten what you want for dinner tonight? There have been times when I've left the studio and I have really not much that I always have something maybe with leftovers, but I was traveling over the weekend. And so I'll order a pizza. I'll call Marcos on the way home, or I'll do it online and I'm here. And then 10 minutes after I get home, because it comes pretty quickly, you'll knock on the door and there's Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. Bob Mock is such a good dude and owns 5 locations in the area. Grew up in the pizza business. I don't know how many of you could tell me in the chat, have ever been a delivery man for pizzas or ever run a store. Maybe you have. I did early on, and so did Bob Mock, and now he owns 5 stores in the Waco area. But somewhere where you live, Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America, Marco's Pizza, marcos.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
All right, here we go. Veterans Day. John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, joins us on 365 Sports with Paul and Craig Smoak. John, thank you very much for your time. I saw a clip today from ground level of Davis running for a touchdown near the pylon, and they show obviously the head coach of Houston going nuts on the sideline. How big of a win was that for them, the way they did it?
Well, they think that it saved their season because they had to, because of injuries, had to start 3 different offensive linemen back up. They were missing C.J. Stroud. Davis Mills hadn't started a game since 2000. Well, I can't remember the last time he started a game. So they were down 20-0, then 29-10 with 13 minutes left in the game. And then all of a sudden, the coach just told, basically, they opened up their offense, played a 2-minute offense, entire fourth quarter. Mills threw 2 touchdown passes, and he runs like he's stuck in wet cement. And he ran for the winning touchdown on a 14-yard run. And then Jacksonville still had time to get a field goal because they have the strongest kicker, Cam Little, who kicked a 68-yarder record last week. But Will Anderson Jr. sacked Trevor Lawrence. It landed in the hands of defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, and he ran for a touchdown with no time left. And what few fans were left in the stands went bonkers. Most of them stampeded out of NRG Stadium when it was 29-10. Second largest comeback in Texans history.
John, how much longer for C.J. Stroud?
Paul, they never know that. It's whenever he gets to clear concussion protocol. 2 years ago, he had a concussion, missed 2 games. They play at Tennessee, where Davis Mills won when he was a starter before Stroud got here. And then they play Buffalo here on a Thursday night game in 2 weeks. So it won't surprise me if Stroud misses this game against the Titans, the worst team in the league, and then comes back the following Thursday to play the Bills, who have struggled. You know, they beat Kansas City, then they turn around and get killed at Miami. So the Texans beat them here last year in prime time, and the defense forced Josh Allen into the worst team of his career.
John, what have been your thoughts on the two ahead of them in the AFC South this year? The Colts, in clear command of the division right now, seem to be one of the better stories in the NFL with Daniel Jones and company, and the Jaguars, who are just always all over the place, but right now at 5-4.
Well, the fact that the Texans beat the Jaguars, you know, they got to play at Kansas City. They play Buffalo here. They still play Indianapolis twice, including the last game here that could be flexed. I think the Colts are going to run away with the division. They should have lost to the Falcons. Falcons lost to them in overtime and let Jonathan Taylor have over 300 yards total offense, scored 3 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime. So Indianapolis is really good. But the week before, when they got beat, the key is to contain Taylor and make Daniel Jones beat you. And he has not been able to do that unless they have the balance of Jonathan Taylor. Taylor's had some big games against the Texans. It's hard for me to believe he's still only 26 years old. But this is a really good defense the Texans have. Defense only gave up one legitimate touchdown drive against the Jaguars. Texas should have beaten the Jaguars first time and had 3 fourth-quarter turnovers in the red zone and lost by 7. So I can't wait till they play the Colts, but first they got to play the Titans and the Bills and somebody else. It might be the Chiefs. They do have back-to-back home games against Arizona and the Raiders later in the season. So if they're anywhere near a wild card berth, that would be a good time to make the move. But Indianapolis is going to run away with the division, and I have bought in on the Patriots. I didn't buy in, even though they won at Buffalo, but to go down to Tampa and beat the Buccaneers, I'm all in on Mike Vrabel and Drake May and that whole group. Vrabel, unless something happens in which the Patriots collapse, and it's not likely, considering what an easy schedule they have, they might end up with a home field advantage in the AFC, just like they did so often with Tom Brady.
John, I sat there and I glanced and kept double checking. Was I looking at the right year? The Dolphins beating the Bills when it doesn't make any sense. In college football, there's occasionally like when UCLA beat Penn State a few weeks ago. In the NFL, you just absolutely just don't know because everybody's pretty good. But that was a stunner. Are the Bills a little bit leaky right now, so to speak?
They weren't the week before when they beat up the Chiefs.
No, they did. Yeah,
and everybody say they're bad. And then they go to Miami. Now the Bills play, I think, the Buccaneers. And Miami has still got talent. When Tua Tagovailoa's not throwing multiple interceptions, and Devin Achane, I can't remember. He's pronounced differently in the NFL than he was at A&M. He is such a great runner, touchdown machine, receiver. They've got Jalen Waddle. They got a lot of talent on that offense. But what was the big surprise, they had made trades and lost a couple of their defensive players, and they still did a great job against Josh Allen and totally shut down the Bills' running game. So, yeah, teams are capable. Like people ask me, could the Titans, who are the worst team in the league, upset the Texans in this game? I said if Carolina can go into Lambeau Field and beat Green Bay and Buffalo can get stomped in Miami, of course they could upset them. That's why coaches go ballistic when they hear us talking about, a guaranteed win or looking ahead, because they know not just what the other team is capable of, but what their team is capable of if it doesn't focus. And that's what made the Texans game Sunday. They come out against Jacksonville, first series, Mills throws an interception, and they kick a field goal. Next series, the kickoff is fumbled, 19-yard touchdown drive, 10-0. Next one, punt return for a touchdown, 17-0. So they're down 17-0 so quickly. And my Twitter has been hacked now for 2 weeks, and I haven't been able to tweet. But had I been tweeting, I would have eviscerated them. And then I'd been wiping all that egg off my face at the end. Actually, I'd have been wiping all that egg off my Twitter account at the end.
John, do you think Bill Belichick is a real candidate for the Giants job?
No, I don't buy that at all. Nobody's going to hire Bill Belichick. You know, you're getting a twofer. Nobody wants that twofer. They don't want Jordan Hudson in there trying to run PR and marketing and everything. He will never coach again in the NFL.
The Cowboys picked up Quentin Williams, and I don't know if you guys talked about it Friday. Did you?
We talked it with Mickey. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But Quentin Williams, a hell of a player. They actually reacted to the trade deadline. Of course, what Philadelphia's done, Howie Roseman seems to dial it up all the time. What the Jets are obviously selling. They're like getting the hell out of there and trying to draft picks. How good, in the end, with what the Cowboys did with the Packers and then the trades they've made, the linebacker from Cincinnati, are they still about where they would have been anyway?
They are this season. Quentin Williams is a great run-stopping defensive tackle, but what was he doing for the Jets? They had Sauce Gardner, they had Quentin Williams. They're still terrible. And there's got to be a new lease on life for him, even though the Cowboys are nothing special. And everything that happens to the Cowboys depends on how shrewd their general manager is when he's using the picks. And I'll ask you guys and your listeners who are listening, how much confidence do you have in the Cowboys general manager to make the right draft choices when he has, 2 1s and a 2 and then 2 1s the next year?
In the first couple of rounds, fine. I, in fact, wish they only had first and second round picks, because once they get past that, outside of Dak Prescott, the examples of Jerry Jones without Jimmy Johnson picking guys up in the fourth round or later are few and far between.
I think they liked to have had Lawrence back. He had 2 fumble returns for touchdowns in the first quarter for Seattle, which is a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, when they I don't think anybody's untradeable. And look, if you don't want Micah Parsons on your team, you don't want Micah Parsons on your team. But John, I mean, they have to hope for the Packers to be stagnant for that trade to be really worth its full value, to where they're going to get this year a really high first round pick, because they've already traded away next year's, for Quentin Williams.
Well, they got to feel pretty good that the Packers are nothing special. Mm-hmm. They've proved that now with back-to-back losses at home. I mean, it's still going to be a low pick, but not where people thought when the trade was made, thought it might be one of the 4 or 5 lowest in the first round. Good thing for the Cowboys, and I know Jerry Jones and his staff know this. This is a great draft for edge rushers. It's the deepest I've ever seen. Overall, this looks like it's going to be a tremendous draft. And for a team like Cowboys and these defensive players, while those quarterbacks come off the board in the first round because teams are desperate, they're going to have their choice of pass rushers. They're going to have a choice of another good cornerback. So this is a great time to have picks, but you got to use them correctly. But if you need an edge rusher, this is the draft.
John, should Baylor move on from Dave Aranda?
I don't think that we can say that now. I feel a lot better after this last game. What do they if they win out? I was ready to have it fired last year, and then they won out. And it's not to say they can't. They got to beat Utah. After watching Houston, I thought for a while there they'd lose to Houston. Now I feel they got a good chance to beat Houston. And so I do think that all that stuff about back roads, that just blows me away. some of the AIs I've seen about Mac and Trig. They're so funny. But the fact is that if they beat Utah, then they're going to win out. And because this is the best team they're going to play. And if you win out, maybe if he wins 2, gets bowl eligible, he saves his job. Now, if they lose out, he's got to be gone. But I'll tell you something. I think I can't remember if I texted you or not. That game in which they dominated Central Florida.
Right.
And Aranda's kicking field goals, and we're going on our text thread, wow, he's not going for 4th down on his own 25. And the defense played great. And like, was it an invasion of the body snatcher? What was up with that performance? Now, hopefully, they can keep it up.
Well, it was UCF, and they do have some problems of their own. But hopefully for Scott Frost and company, they can iron them out. John, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Check 'em Bears, guys.
He brought up the AI. I sent this out to, I don't know if it was everybody, but I sent out the video from, is it Franco? For where we used to, it's an AI of Trig and Mac going at it. It was, it's scary that A1 can be that.
If
I know.
you say
I did
A1
on
one more time, I'm going to drown you. That's how bad I'm angry about it. Like, I'm threatening your actual life now.
Craig's released his energy, and so have you. I've won today.
Look, Craig and I agree on this, that A1, you saying A1 is going to wind you up in the home so fast.
All right. So, speaking of that,
we have to. I'm going to go on another Nico rant if you don't.
The chat room
It's like therapy, though. Like when you go to but like for Craig, it's like when you go to therapy and you finally confront your demons, and then you just gotta want to get them all out. Yeah.
It's like very expensive, though.
Yeah.
But it does get you through it. All right. When we come back, we will have Paul's top 5. We will have the wheel. We got to come up with a name of just the wheel. And then also quizzes and the poll results.
Well, we call it the carnival.
Oh, we did?
The whole thing's the carnival.
The carnival. The last segment next, 365 Sports.
I got my Colgate Advanced LED Whitening Treatment in the mail, and I am very excited to have dramatically whiter teeth in just 10 days. There's a full 10-day supply, and it looks easy to apply. Order yours today at shop.colgate.com.
The dress collar polo. The only polo with a spread collar. Gives you the look of a dress shirt, but with the comfort of a polo shirt. Collars and Company.
I'm here to work out with you.
We did not put this little cookie cutter program together.
I'm in there with you, sweating, yelling, doing the damn thing.
Transformed by Core Home Fitness.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
At Dreamy, we believe that life can be upgraded in comfort, convenience, and joy.
Dude, check out this robe. This is the dude robe. It's perfect for after the shower, gym, or even the beach. This thing is awesome. It also has this super premium towel lining to dry you off right away. Dude, what are you waiting for? Get yourself a dude robe today.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by flagandanthem.com. Go to that website, use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Paul Catalina's Top 5 today is buyout babies who want back in. Now, I'm not trying to insult these coaches by calling them buyout babies. What you call a minor league baseball player who got a signing bonus is a bonus baby. So I'm using those terms, the Nuke LaLoosh terms, if you're familiar with Bull Durham. And if you're not, I'm sorry about you. Go look it up. Buyout babies who want back in. Number 5, Garrett's personal favorite, Ed Orgeron, national championship winning coach, has made it very clear that he wants to get back into head coaching or position coaching. I don't think he's going to take a job like UAB or, he might take Memphis if Memphis opens. I think that would be one that might fit him a little bit. But I do think that he will be at least an assistant, a defensive line coach or a coordinator, recruiting for a big team next year, and then hoping that springs him back into being a head coach. He's had some time off, and now he wants to get back in. And I think he'd be a great choice for somebody to see what he's learned and what he can take from that national championship season. Number 4, John Gruden. Now, not necessarily a buyout baby. He's more of a lawsuit baby because he won his lawsuit against the NFL for wrongful termination and all those things. And those things kind of continue to dangle out there a little bit. But he's made no secret that he wants to be a head coach again, and he wants to coach in college. Now, do I think he's going to get one of the open SEC jobs? Only if things get super crazy. But if he's willing to take a job to prove that he's still got it and can be a college coach, he can get a big job pretty soon if he's still got it. Although, let's be honest, it's been a very long time since John Gruden won anything of note as a coach. But if he really wants to get back into coaching and be a college coach, there are opportunities for him for sure. Number 3, James Franklin. Offset language be damned. He's still got a big buyout coming to him, and he is still going to coach next year. There's no doubt in my mind, whether it's Virginia Tech or somewhere else, James Franklin's going to get a job, and he wants back in to prove that his method works and that he can win a national championship. It's the only thing that in a conference title that he didn't win at Penn State, but say he goes to Virginia Tech in what is now a very wide open ACC. It's a little bit of an easier conference to win year in and year out than the Big Ten is, and perhaps maybe he could win something somewhere else. We'll see. Sometimes it's not all on the head coach. It's on everything around him and some of the things that happen. But James Franklin has to make some minor adjustments to his system to make sure that he gets to that national title, because it was kind of always the same story when they lost. Number 2, Pat Fitzgerald. Also, not only is he a buyout baby, he's also a lawsuit baby. Just won his lawsuit or settled his lawsuit. But any kind of big settlement like that is usually a win for the claimant, and that is Pat Fitzgerald. So he is a guy who had a lot of success given the standards that he has to reach at Northwestern. He'd be a perfect fit in a lot of places. I did a top 5 a couple weeks ago about him, or places that would fit, and he was at UCLA, would be a good fit for him. There's a couple other jobs out there that I don't think we'd bet. Stanford would be a good fit for Pat Fitzgerald, and he definitely wants to get back into coaching because he feels, as do the courts, that he was wrongfully terminated from Northwestern and wants to get out there and prove something. And number 1, Jimbo Fisher, the biggest buyout baby of all the buyout babies. And again, he's not a real baby. I mean, sometimes coaches can be babies. We see it a lot. Jimbo not excluded, but this is a guy who has a ring, who has rings as an assistant under Nick Saban and Les Miles. He has won at high levels. He got too much into his own sauce a little bit there and didn't change things up. His biggest flaw, but if he's decided in these 2 years that he's laid out of coaching that he can change some things, look, if he wants it, there are several jobs out there. I think that if he just called up and said, I want this job, they'd say, okay. And money's not really going to be an issue because he has so much coming from A&M for seemingly the rest of his natural and all of our natural lives. But if he wants some of these open jobs that are out there, he could get them in a heartbeat because he has skins on the wall. Believe you me. Jimbo Fisher, I think, will be back in coaching next year. The more jobs open up, the more guys like Jimbo Fisher, Pat Fitzgerald, and Ed Orgeron make sense because a lot of programs want someone with head coaching experience and high-level head coaching experience. So there are some jobs that are going to open up that if he wanted, he could get them. That's going to do it for this top 5. We're back with a carnival right now. Okay. The Wheel of Destiny here. What is your favorite flavor of Gatorade?
Oh, I know what mine is.
I go typically. Is it still like cool? Like is it cool blue? I don't know what the official title of it is, like glacier or whatever the hell that is. The regular bright blue. Or if I'm just going like traditional, I was always a lemon lime guy.
I'm a lemon lime guy. They've brought back the Michael Jordan citrus cooler a couple times. That was actually my favorite, but it's not always stocked.
No, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of do it. It's like a special release,
Well,
like when The Last Dance came out, they like pushed it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I like the fruit punch. I love cherry. That's about as close as you'll get. So Saturday night, Jennifer was not craving because the cravings are over. But she asked me if I'd go get her some Gushers. Craig, you know how much she loves Gushers.
I do. I buy her boxes at Sam's, basically. That's how much she loves them.
And then there was something else that she liked, too.
Oh, sorry. By the way, Citrus Cooler coming back because of a collaboration with Stranger Things.
Oh.
Thanks,
what
Netflix.
is Stranger Things?
It's a show on Netflix.
A show you'll never watch.
No, that's okay. And then there was other candy. So I went and got it. And then she said, "Give me the Gatorade White." Or white Gatorade. And I guess that's the glacial freeze or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, I had the texture and
It's
it was
kind of cherry flavored.
I don't ever, I want fruit punch cherry, but I will always defer to the original bottle that we had when we were younger. And that was our energy drink, the old bottle of Gatorade.
The glass bottle.
Yeah.
I miss the glass bottle.
Dude, I would love for everything to be glass and not plastic if
no,
I had my way about it. I know it would be messy probably.
Do they do that anymore?
You can get glass water bottles, but they're more expensive.
No, I'm talking about Gatorade, the old
glass.
Okay.
I don't. I like Gatorade in a can too. Like I get that. I guess like one off like every few years I'll have like a canned Gatorade. But yeah, I go lemon lime, the originals, and then I think the blue, like cool blue, was what it is. So
yeah. Gatorade is how I know that if the University of Florida discovers the cure for cancer, I'll take it because I drink Gatorade. Like there's part of me that would be like, well, can we wait until somebody else discovers it?
One of the many great contributions by that wonderful university.
I'll tell you. Look, outside of the sports thing, it's a fantastic school, but
it is. Yeah, they are. It's a great school, but the Gatorade was like, that's my absolute youth go-to.
And they'll never top it either.
Freezing cold when
that's
you pull
the
it
thing.
out.
They'll have to cure a disease.
No, that's
to
right.
Top Gatorade.
Have y'all ever tried some of the alternatives like what's the other one? Not vitamin water.
I'm a big
body
vitamin
armor.
water guy.
Body
I'm
armor.
a huge vitamin water
No,
guy.
I'm not.
I
won't. I refuse to do that.
I drink Costco Vitarain, which is very good. So yeah, I'm a big sports drink guy.
You're
anyway.
dropping the names Costco.
But yeah, no, Costco. I want Costco to sponsor us so badly. But it's the best place I've ever been. Body armor. I think Garrett likes body armor. Yeah, Garrett's a body armor
I like
guy.
body armor.
I think that was Kobe. Kobe was body
Kobe
armor.
had a big stake in that before he died. Yep.
Yeah.
He was body armor over Gatorade?
Oh yeah, he was like he had a huge investment. He was about to make, or already was making, and he was about to make way more money off of that. He had a lot of he was going to be. I don't know if he would have been like Magic Johnson, but he was going to try to be Magic Johnson.
Yeah. 50 Cent had vitamin water.
Yes.
Old Barn Cat, orange grape or lemon lime. Paxton, orange. Green apple, underrated. Cherry, Powerade's the other one, I guess, that people are talking about. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Powerade is Coke's response to it. The West Point parachute team has been delivering the game ball by air at Army Black Knights home football games since which decade? Whew.
The balloon.
That would be a parachute, not a balloon.
Is in the 90s, but I would think it's before that.
And now that we say that, Andrew could always be, I guess, trying to play us thinking that we're going to go out, but now you made it so obvious that the picture lined up with the answer a couple of times. So now my mind's totally scrambled because is he doing it intentionally and that's tipping off the answer?
What the heck? Yeah,
but I'm thinking that it's not.
Why is there sunglasses?
In the 80s, because people like to,
Tom Cruise, Risky Business.
Yeah. All right, okay.
There's a beeper in the 90s.
Pick one.
I have no idea. I'm going to say the 70s.
I'm fine with the 70s as well.
That's the great decade.
Yeah.
Boom! You just guessed, and my God, you were right. That's
wild ass guess. Here's why I thought the 70s.
Sounded a year before I was born.
Okay, So if they started doing it in the 60s, that probably would have been a good idea because of Vietnam. And they would have maybe had the resources to do such a thing. And
all the helicopters were,
helicopters, planes, all that stuff, like you wouldn't have had it. The 70s, Vietnam was over. So, yeah, this makes sense. So, yes, founded in 1958, the West Point parachute team began dropping the game ball from the sky at home games in the mid-70s. Typically, the first or second jumper carries the ball, while the final jumper proudly bears the American flag, creating one of college football's most iconic pregame traditions.
I can see that. Do you guys know that when we had U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company on, I was up in, I think
you went to go skydiving.
I was going to jump.
Weather.
I was going to jump out of an airplane it was the Black Knights, but it overcast. The ceiling of the sky was too low. We couldn't do it.
Yeah,
that was a long, miserable day.
Okay, next. Which college football rivalry is famous for students stealing each other's live mascot?
Oh,
Navy versus Air Force, Army versus Navy, the Citadel versus Army, or Air Force versus
Citadel
Army?
was something Andrew added once we brought them up about Ole Miss beating them. Otherwise, we would never have said them. I would have to think it's Army Navy. They would the Billy Goat. And,
well, the thing is that Air Force is so far away, as where Army and Navy aren't that far.
You've got Navy intelligence, man.
But West Point, West Point and Annapolis
are really close.
Are close
within reason.
Or within reason. Like if I'm gonna go steal the Falcon from Air Force, I've really got to do something. So I'm gonna say Army Navy.
I am too. I just think the Billy Goat. That's just a tradition.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
Yeah. I mean, y'all voted me, so if you're right, then great. If you're wrong, then y'all are idiots.
Okay. Oh!
Great. Well done, gentlemen.
Yep. Andrew's been bringing knives to gunfights lately. The Army-Navy mascot wars began in 1953 when West Point cadets goat-napped Navy's Bill the Goat after sedating it with chloroform. Since then, both sides have traded wild pranks from Navy's 1991 seal-backed mule raid, Operation Missing Mascot, to Army's 2021 blunder capturing a retired one-horned goat. Though mascots' heights were banned in 1992, the rivalry's mischievous spirit lives on. I think the most famous one in our neck of the woods is A&M in Texas when the Aggies stole Bevo, and that's how he got his name.
13-0, isn't that right? They branded him with 13-0 and
there's
Texas
some
put a twist on it.
There's some alternative history to that from.
So what are you going to do? Steal a
Austinites?
male cheerleader if you're Texas or what?
Reveille.
Oh, that's right. You got Reveille. That's right.
Golly, the disrespect for a beautiful animal. Gosh,
You think that the male cheerleaders are a beautiful animal?
oh, Reveille is beautiful collie. My God, no.
Which G6 team currently has the best shot at winning their conference and making the college football playoff? I said James Madison.
I would love to see. I would love to see that for JMU. Everybody else thinks, well, not everybody, but nice little split between the 2, 3, and 4. But USF with an 8% lead there, and they have the best quarterback of all 4 of those teams. So that probably stands to reason why people went with that.
Yeah, I think one of the knocks on James Madison, they've got a nice record, but I saw some questioning with the way they jumped into the poll about their strength of schedule and whatnot. But I think I go with USF as well. They've got a manageable schedule. Navy on the road will be tough. UAB on the road, so they got to go win on the road back-to-back weeks, and they close out with Rice at home. So I think that's doable for USF. So, I'll go with the Bulls here as well to make the playoff and rep the G6. But JMU is rising.
Well, they are. They have not played anybody in the top 25, but they have a pretty manageable schedule. Somebody sent me a note. Who was it that watches? Might have been Kim late after his drunken stupor after Tech won, that he would never have believed that North Texas would actually get into the college football playoff standings, and that could happen.
It could.
In fact, I think they might be now inside the top 25.
With JMU, I mean, they got App State, which I know it's not always like typically the same App State that we reflect on when they were like at their most dominant by any means, but they got Washington State and then Coastal Carolina, the road game. That's actually the tough one there at the end for JMU potentially later this month. So Samari Collier, who I just shouted out earlier, there for Coastal, that could be a fun game. But it is very cool to see North Texas involved. I think Eric Morris is probably coaching somewhere else next year, whether
Maybe
that's
here.
Stillwater or Waco or somewhere else. I think that's very realistic, and I would think that his quarterback's probably following him. I do know this, wherever Drew Messamaker plays next year, he'll be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
He'll be one of the most coveted guys this entire offseason. So I do think there's a 2-for-1 potentially with those two that would be enticing.
The
Used to happen in basketball all the time.
Mateer Arbuckle.
Used to hire a basketball high school coach, and he'd bring his superstar.
Of course.
You wonder if Morris stays. Does Mestamaker stay with him, or does he say, "No, man, go get your money"?
I don't. I would hope that North Texas can scrounge up some people to make it worth his while to stick around and maybe not be able to match what everybody else can do, but make it enough to where it's like you're still going to be happy and paying rent and doing all that with ease.
I agree. All right. Who is your pick for 2025's Big 12 Football Coach of the Year? Landslide with Joey McGuire.
971 votes, Andy.
Damn.
That's impressive.
There you go. I think the momentum is just there, and they've never won the Big 12 conference or played for it. So that would make sense, even with all the buildup and all the things they've done. Satterfield's had a nice year, but I think Joey would win. I think this would be a landslide.
Yeah, I think it needs to be Joey McGuire right now. Had BYU won that game last weekend, it would be Kalani Sitake. So that was part of the stakes involved there. And I think Willie Fritz has done a really nice job with Houston, and Scott Satterfield with Cincinnati. I mean, I think in some other years they might be receiving a lot more votes, but Tech's just on such a heater right now that it's hard to go with anybody else at this point. So, yeah, I'd go with Joey McGuire.
All right. So there we are with the polls, the quizzes, and the wheel. Now, we have a couple of more pictures on this Veterans Day. Is that right, Brandon? You just put them up and you let me know what we have. This is Pete Catalina.
Yeah, that's my dad when he was in Vietnam. Look at that Italian chest hair, by the way. Very, very Italian chest hair that he's rocking there in his uniform. He's Captain Pete Catalina in the medical detachment in Chulai. Dust off. So he was spraying Agent Orange. I hate to say that, but that's what they told him to do, so he did it. But yeah, he was.
Looks like Sean Payton.
Maybe a little bit. Does. Maybe a little bit. Good-looking fellow there. Good-looking guy. And he had a monkey when he was in Vietnam named Margaret that got eaten by a mongoose.
Did he become the special teams coach at Texas?
Yeah.
So,
man. Oh. Yeah, no, it was. That does sound like a Mad Lib, but that was true. And so that's a picture that that we kind of have as a family that, every Veterans Day somebody posts it, and I saw my aunt had posted it. And so I thought, man, we got to throw this one up because, man.
We did.
That's a good-looking soldier right there.
I love Pete Catalina. I know you did, for sure. And this is Robert Van Smoak Sr. and my mother, Joanne John Villar Lamar Smoak. That was on his graduation day at Naval. He got married that time. He was in his Naval Academy attire, Craig's grandfather, and eventually became a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
Those dress whites are awesome.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
That's Army-Navy game when they're doing that. Both what the cadets do and the midshipmen, absolutely amazing. All right. This is S. Michael DeHart. We showed earlier the picture. He said, what did he say? This is the picture from his father. Those are my dad's medals. I'm a baby of 7 kids. My dad was 47 when I was born and worked 38 years plus 4 years, Appalachian Power Company. And so we put up Veterans Day. Thanks for the pictures we sent. Not everybody was able to get theirs up, but we appreciate. Thank you, Brandon Garrett, and also Andrew for doing what you do. We're back tomorrow. We'll have Daybar too. I'm telling you, he'll break down the college football rankings. Just unbelievable, and give us all of why they are 1 through whatever. And then also Zach Gelb tomorrow on the show. And the Big 12 Mojo rankings tomorrow, too, from Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Thank you. Good night, 365 Sports.